Hi guys, it's Mark Zickery, Mr. Sci-Fi, and we are here live on this Thursday. So we're also running the table video, so we'll be balancing between the two, but you're all welcome to ask questions about anything you'd like to know about, and we will answer them, and life will be good. So Elaine is joining me even as we speak. There she is. And we're trying to connect to the table. So in a moment, we will be up and running. So this is very, very, very exciting. Uh-oh. Look out. Careful. And the dogs are here too.
Shoes.
It's connecting.
Connecting.
There we go. Okay. Join with video and the modern age. So, but we're here every Thursday, so you're welcome to join us anytime you'd like. And yes, the Kickstarter campaign is going. Please throw some dollars our way. And this is, hi guys.
Hello.
Hold on, we're not live yet. We have to unmute audio. There we go. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Hello.
Good. Good.
We're back.
Yes, and I'm on Mr. Sci-Fi as well. And Adam, I guess you'll be moderating the questions from Mr. Sci-Fi from
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
great. So is anybody
Look, there's very few of us. I guess we'll be done early today.
Yes, that sounds good. I think that's great. Yes, it's a nice warm summer day.
So is there anybody who is far away or has to leave?
Who is not in
early?
Los Angeles?
Yes.
Who's not in the Los Angeles area? Everybody
I'm
is?
not
You're not.
anymore. I
Okay.
used to be.
Okay, so why don't you start, Matthew? How about you?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
introduce yourself. What are you up to? What do you need?
I'm not sure what to start with because I'm brand new to the whole meeting.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to just intro myself and tell a little bit my background?
Well, no. Here's what it is. I'm Mark Zickery. This is Elaine Zickery. We've been running the table for 28 years. It's
Hi,
made
Mark.
up of
Hi,
Hi. It's been made up of thousands of members, writers, directors, producers, actors, anyone in books, film, TV, and it's a support structure. We help each other, and so it's basically what are you up to, and what do you need?
Okay.
I guess.
So I should just introduce myself and say what I need, or should I just talk about my background? I'm trying to get
Yeah,
Yes,
a mixture. A mixture.
It's a support group that people get to know you by a little bit of who you are and what you're up to, and then you say, I could use this, and I could offer this to the table. Like if anybody wants
copy
advice
that.
on.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm Matthew Corrado. I've been involved in theater and performance and film and this kind of stuff for, I don't know, ostensibly 20 or 30 years, but mostly projects that are ones that I've put together myself.
Uh-huh.
I was heavily involved in doing, it's hard to explain, live lightsaber fight performance work for 12 years.
Wow. Uh-huh.
And it was quite a rabbit hole to go down. I mean, Adam probably learned a little tiny bit about some of what I did because he and I met in a different kind of consideration that didn't have anything to do with the background that I have in all this weird live Star Wars stuff, which I've all but abandoned at this point because I'm getting too old for it.
Yes.
And doing all that stuff live is difficult.
Yes.
But in addition to that, I've always been like an actor, a performer. I sing. I've spent a lot of time directing my own projects and then doing a lot of video and sound editing work, but none of it where I would consider all of it to be somehow categorized as like super high professional.
Right.
I don't have like some insane IMDb account or whatnot, but I definitely have a good amount of experience and understanding and good study, like with acting and performance and whatnot. I mean, Adam and I resonate because of all the VO work that he does, and I love all the voices that he does, and of course, I do some of my own as well, and that's why we're working together on this project and this sort of thing. But to get to the whole, well, what do I need?
Yes.
Although I may have a good gamut of skill sets, like what I'm writing is kind of here in the background, or not writing, I've already written it. This Diamond Dragons thing is a hero's journey. It's akin to Lord of the Rings, but with dragons as the main characters. And it's a spiritual kind of journey that these characters go on, and it's very dramatic in the sense that it's not kid and play. We're there to literally change people's minds and have them experience something that when they go into the theater or whatever, when they're looking at their laptop, or I don't know how it's going to be with COVID-19.
Yes.
But when they go in, they go in one way, but when they come out, they're going to be like, whoa, this whole thing, I had no idea that it was going to be like this. I had no idea it was going to affect my life. This is the goal.
Cool.
So with this gamut of skills that I have, though, I do lack things like crowdfunding abilities,
Sure.
Marketing, paperwork, and all the things about the legalities of going, well, you need to set up the corporation, and you should do S Corp, you should do this thing, you should do that thing. So there's quite a bit of skills that I just don't have enough hands. I don't have enough, I can't juggle that many chainsaws at once.
Sure, Matthew. Well, let me ask a question. So what, the thing I'm trying to get it clear is, so what format is this going to be in? What is it exactly? I mean, I understand that it's dragons and so forth. Is it, go ahead. Is it a game? Is it
so it's a good question. So it's a feature-length film, and the format that it will probably be sort of unleashed in is, so I'm always thinking outside the box. And here's the thing is, in 2011, this kind of thing probably wouldn't have been possible to do with things like 3D game engines.
Right.
But as we've all kind of been seeing, the traditional way that animation was done for things like Shrek and Frozen and all those kinds of things, it's sort of like that was up here.
Right.
And then 3D gaming world was like Skyrim and other things, and suddenly now we're kind of seeing this place where you're like, the 3D engines, which I'm sure some people in here have heard of, Unreal 3D.
Yeah, of course.
Has made such a geometric spike in its growth in just the last 4 years.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. I mean, you couldn't have done this kind of thing in 2011, but now even it depends on how many people are listening and what kind of knowledge set they have, but trust me, it's completely plausible now.
Right.
Not 2 years ago, probably, and certainly not 4 or 5,
right?
Definitely not 10, but now it's possible. So it's the idea is to deliver it as a feature length. Now, how that will be distributed, it seems to me that it probably won't be in theaters.
No, not soon.
Anymore.
Not soon. So, so then, do you have any idea of how much it will cost to make, or?
That's a really good question. So I'm working on having someone do that, because what we needed, of course, is someone to run the numbers on it. And of course, not just be like, oh, okay, here, I'll do a spreadsheet for you. We're like, no, we need to do this kind of legitimately. And, we have a lot of comparisons that need to be made to traditional animation, again, like Frozen or if you want to go as way back as Snow White or whatever. But the point is, there's a lot of differences that are coming up. Like, for example, something I was talking to Adam about, since I'm having to do a lot of voices, is we might try to employ this ability to use the cameras to film the people doing their VO work, and then apply the facial maps to the creatures, because it will probably significantally reduce the cost in order to animate all the little faces of every dragon speaking whatever they're going to say.
Are you hoping to sell this to like a studio, or make it yourself? You want to make it yourself?
Yeah, I think it would be a categorically stupid idea with this particular work to sell it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And it's not something that I think most people would understand outright. They'd immediately, the first time that they would hear that, they'd be like, okay, this guy's out of his mind and he's crazy. And that's perfectly fine. I think it would take people to actually read some of it and learn about it. And they might start to go like, oh, wow, I see what's going on here. You're not just doing like, hey, this is a cool movie and it'll be action and it'll be forgotten about. I'm like, no, this is a brand. And beyond it being a brand, I'm doing it because I want to change the world, and I want people to appreciate the people who are around them and the world that they live in.
Right.
And it's that kind of thing. It really is sort of spiritually very much like Lord of the Rings, but with dragons as the main characters. That's the best way to say it in a quick bite. I mean, I could tell a little log line and stuff, but that's not important. If people want to know more about it, they can feel free to contact me. Adam knows a lot about the script at this point, whereas maybe a year and a half ago he was probably like, I don't know, I don't know who these characters are, I'm just doing some voices. And then he was like, oh, never mind, like, this is cool. Like, I know one of his favorite characters that he's voicing. He's doing ostensibly 3, is that right, Adam? 3, right?
I thought it was 2, but now 3. Yeah,
yes,
that's right. I forgot. I'm now voicing a new character that I wasn't before.
I see. Okay. And do you have many friends who are in VFX and gaming? Do you have people who can generate some of that stuff for you?
So it's kind of a very complicated question to answer. The answer is basically yes and no.
Oh, okay.
So I have already on the team, we have some 3D designers that have come aboard, and I have some concept artists and all this kind of thing. But I definitely don't have like plugged into the industry. Like, do you know a whole bunch of people at Lucasfilm and at ILM and these things? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have that kind of connections. I do have one who actually knows Dave Filoni, and he was actually going to try to talk to him a little bit about it because he believes in the project, and I was surprised by that. I was like, "You really believe in this?" So Matthew, I read your first 30 pages, and I was completely blown away. And I went, "Really?" Because this guy's well enough into the industry that. I mean, without going into all the details, he actually won a whole bunch of costuming contests for the work that he does. He lives in Ireland, and he's won Guinness Book of World Records of doing ridiculous, like Star Wars costuming stuff. Like he did this Darth Plagueis or something costume or whatever, Darth Malgus. He did some Wookiee costume, and all these things won like everything all over the bloody world. He's a crazy professional. But anyways, he read the thing and he says, "Oh, I got to talk to Dave about this."
Great.
But then he's like, "Hey, Dave is really owned by Disney at this point, and it's going to be complicated, and like they don't let him move to the left, right, or up or down." And I went, "Copy that. I think I understand what you're trying to get at." So no, I don't really have like, some major connections or anything like that.
Okay, so several things I would recommend just at the beginning. Copyright the script if you haven't already.
Oh yeah, just as I'm not even trying to cut you off. Yeah, it was copyrighted pretty much the moment that I did it. I went and registered. I should probably re-register now because it's gone through enough plausible edits that I'm like, yeah, it's different. It's still the same story and all the characters and things, but. That's another thing to at least make it clear to even who's listening. They might think, "Oh God, he probably wrote one draft and thought, wow, it's the greatest thing ever." It's been through so many different iterations because I keep taking as many notes as possible and then be like, "Oh yeah, like I want to implement this, and if I make this slight change, that's more robust, or I can say this in 10 words instead of 20, etc." And then, so yeah, it's been covered.
And then the other thing I would make sure is that you have deal memos, you have paperwork with everyone who does any of the work so that they can't claim ownership in the IP.
Everybody's signed an NDA, so that's one thing. And then the rest of it is at this point, there's not really enough people involved where it's so complicated that I'd be worried about that. Like, I'd run over and punch Adam in the face. But exactly, like it's one of those things that I think it would be very difficult for people to claim ownership where I have an entire trail of working on this for years. So
no, that's fine.
It would be pretty tough.
I think, Mark, you're referring to like the VFX people.
Yeah, or designers, anyone who's designing characters.
Have the 3D renderings of the dragons.
Well,
and could
those
have them from you.
Those are not created yet. So yeah, no, it's a really good point. Yeah, so the concept art that's been created for me, I own, especially via the paperwork that I've made.
Good.
The music is in a good position. I have a composer. He's fantastic. He's from New York. He's really wonderful, very great kid. And no, those are really good points. But that said, Mark, absolutely, I could very much use legal help where people are like, "Look, here's the thing. You may have had them sign X and Y and Z, but it would be very smart if you do this and that and the other." Because again, I'm not a lawyer. Right. That's not in my wheelhouse. It doesn't have to be. It's not not supposed to be. I can't be every single thing.
There's standard releases.
Yes.
Standard releases. So if you put the word out, you don't have to go to a lawyer. You just have to say, onto the. You can get onto the table email, or Adam could do it for you and say, "We'd like the standard release forms," just to be sure. Because the thing that people buy is something that's going to be worry-free, or put money into is they're worry-free, and worry-free is you have all these little very simple short releases. Let's say it's yours, and of course you do have the copyright. That's what you sell, the copyright. But that's great. So I think we have to cover a lot of people. But the thing is, in terms of crowdfunding, if you have that much done and you can get some visuals done, just little pieces of it, so that people, it doesn't even have to be specifically, this is what I did for my project. You can say, this artist who is working for me has done this, and this is what it's going to look like.
You would be surprised at how much is already
that would be great.
There's actually, I made a pre-visualization of, I'd say, ostensibly, plausibly, hashtag question mark, the first 15 to 30 minutes, probably not even 30 minutes, of what transpires from start to, again, the first 15, 20 minutes. And, Adam's voice is in it, mine is in it, and all this other stuff. And the pre-visualization basically contains some concept art, some level of animation, sound, music, and again, vocals. And I've actually released some of these publicly so that people could see what's going on. They're on my YouTube channel, but they're there as a example to try to get people interested. It doesn't show the entire story and all these kinds of things.
Sure.
Well, be sure to check the chat bar. There's some messages to you regarding NDAs.
Yes.
And copyright.
Cool. No, I will definitely look at that and see how that works.
And look at some crowdfunding campaigns. The successful ones, I think you probably have a very good shot with crowdfunding.
Yes. So, exactly.
Oh, I could imagine.
Yeah.
So, and then,
I just need the help on it because, again, it's sort of like you don't judge a fish on its ability to climb a ladder. And to be honest, for me, doing crowdfunding or legal work, it's literally like I'm a fish on a ladder.
Yeah, well, I mean, that there's something to be said for that. But but if you join the table email list, you can send one email out that goes out to all several thousand members. And so I think if David Bartlett signs on later on the screen, he can help you navigate that. So that'll be fun.
That.
Yeah. Okay. Well, welcome. 3 cheers, Matthew. Yay. So Adam, as most of you know, we're doing a simulcast with my Mr. Sci-Fi channel. So Adam, are there any questions from Mr. Sci-Fi yet?
Yes, we do already have a question from Wilhelm Sowers, longtime commenter and Mr. Sci-Fi fan. The question is, will Space Command feature the planetary government in a broader sense like Babylon 5 did with the Earth government?
Yes, we'll have those things happening. Yes, absolutely. So let's see. So now, is there anyone else here who's not in LA, who's like more easternly? You are, Nina. Okay, so why don't we take you, Nina? So unmute your mic. There you go.
Oh, hi. Thanks for letting me come, guys.
Sure.
Thanks.
You bet.
I'm in the middle of the sticks in Illinois. Wow, suburb, and doing absolutely nothing with myself. And that took a lot of guts for me to just say that. So I've got a couple script ideas that I've been batting around my cage, and I'm just grateful to be able to come here and just reconnect.
Yes.
Because I've tried to find places in Chicago, and Chicago's awesome. It's a fantastic city. But the people, so far, the people I had met, trying to network and work with people were, and I don't want to sound judgy because I'm going to sound judgy, so I'm judgy. So I judge fish, by the way. So they were really unprofessional and really not focused, and really as focused as you guys are, as focused as clear as you guys are.
Yes.
And productive.
Great.
So I got disenchanted with that a little bit. So maybe I'm getting a chance to get a fresh start.
Sure.
And that's where I'm at.
Great. So what would you like to be doing? What would you like to? How would you like to be moving forward?
Okay, so I'm working with my voiceover demo to get that reignited again.
Cool.
Because work is not. There's no singing work. There's no club work. I do a lot of club work and stuff like that. And I started writing again.
Oh, good.
Because I just stopped out of nowhere. I just stopped and got stuck. So I'm unsticking myself. I've got a couple. Because thank you, Judith, by the way. I just got started writing again.
Great.
So kind of kicked me in my butt the last couple of days, and I just took a walk, dude, and came back with an idea for a sitcom that I'm going to write down. And it's about a couple. The woman dies. Of course, always somebody dies at the very beginning, I think. And it's sort of like Light Spirit, the sitcom. She won't leave. She doesn't know how to leave. So I got to work on that. I mean, it just came when I was walking. That's why I was a little bit late. So I'm just trying to. I'd like to do some voiceovers just to get working again, because there's no other work, and Broadway shut down, and Broadway shut down in Chicago as well. So I'd like to not spin my wheels anymore, regardless of the situation. So voiceover is a really good thing for me to do.
Great. Well, that's terrific.
And working on scripts.
And there are many table members who are professional voiceover people, so definitely reaching out to them, you can get a lot of guidance on that, So yeah, so great. So well, welcome. Good to see you, Nina.
Yeah.
Yay.
Hey guys, I love your idea. Your film, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna look at my stuff to see if I have some NDAs and some standard releases.
Cool. That's
great.
That's great. So so Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, our next question comes from Ziggy, another longtime commenter. He asks, any luck? Remember, he had asked a few weeks ago about doing 3D printing some Space Command goodies. So he's asking for he says, any luck with getting the 3D files to print them?
I was going to say that's not my department. I mean, it's
yeah. So any progress?
That would probably be a David Bartlett, that side of the team question. So we can come back to that. Yeah,
I don't. To be honest, I don't think we've done much on that yet because we've got a bunch of other irons in the fire.
Well, I know when we did the Paladin,
definitely going to do that.
When we did the Paladin model, we actually made a 3D version that was that you could print out. And so there are those assets do exist, and so it's just a matter of getting.
It's just a matter of finding them, and
it's just a matter of the left hand knowing what the right hand is doing. So
But I think we should, if you can, Adam, bring that up to David, who isn't with us right now. And, and because it'd be wonderful to have another 3D asset artist with us.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
definitely.
Great.
Terrific.
Thanks.
So good, great, yay. So I guess Judith, do you want to jump in and take your turn?
Yes. Judith.
She's trying to. Are you unmuting? Trying to unmute. At least you're not upside down. There we go. Yeah,
There
you're
you
good.
go.
You're good.
Okay.
We can. There. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hear
Yes.
me?
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
hear me now?
Yes.
Hi guys. Hi
Hi.
Nina. I haven't seen you in so long. Nina's my bestie.
Good.
I never talk to her, just every day. By the way, she's a terrific actress and a fabulous writer. She really is.
Great.
I have been not writing so much because I've been working on the voiceover demo. That will be done by tomorrow, hopefully. The pieces are all in the studio. Voice Tracks West is giving me a wonderful deal. So we're going to get all that together. And on Sunday, I got my Blue Yeti microphone.
Yay! Okay. That's great.
I'm cleaning up the desk to make room for it. It reminds me of a Neumann. It brings back a lot of memories. It really does. I look at it when I'm right back there.
That's great.
And in about a week and a half, I'll be doing a workshop with an animation a casting director.
Great.
So we'll see what goes on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm getting back. Last night I was up till 3:00 working on my series Half Dead.
Great.
Which is what I am right now. And trying to get everything together. I too have a dragon movie. It's about dragons in Burbank. And so I'm working on that. Yeah. It's totally wacky. It's very modern and really wacky. So I'm working on that. I've already had a table read, although a long time ago. Right after that, I found out I was really ill. So that took a little time. And I'm getting together with David this week to go over all my stuff.
Great.
And I'm getting a COVID test on Monday because I'm going to be doing my demo, and I want everybody to feel safe. I want Raven and David and Raven and her husband and Tom Katzis and everybody that I'm going to be working with. I want them to feel safe.
Great.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay, well,
That's
great.
about it. And I'm working on my pitches, practicing them. Next week, I'm going to take Susan. Thank you for stage 32, because I'm now a member, and they have these pitch things on Thursday. So I'm going to do one next week. I have several lengths, and I'll run them by and see what happens.
That's fantastic, Judith. Yeah, good for you.
Great.
Who said that?
Susan.
Huh?
Susan.
Told you about stage 32.
You did. Thank you, Susan.
Yes.
Great, terrific.
That's what I said. Thank you.
Okay.
So they have a free month, so I'm availing myself of that, and I'll see what the finances are.
Okay, great.
After that.
Okay, good. Okay, 3 cheers. Yay. So, Adam, another question from Mr. Sci-Fi?
Yeah, we have a question from Mark Lungo.
Hi, Mark.
Good friend of Mr. Sci-Fi and
Yes.
Space Command and the like. He asks, are there any subjects that are absolutely taboo for Space Command?
Not subjects as such, but certainly we don't want to do anything that's actively fatalistic or cynical or something that a family wouldn't feel comfortable watching with their kids. So
You get enough of that with Discovery.
Yeah. No, cannibalism, I guess, would be off the table.
Well,
so,
also, there are no disposable people.
Mm.
In a lot of
yes.
A lot of films, it's sort of like, well, prostitutes or street people or
So
people you can just kill off easily.
So it's mainly tonal.
Yeah.
Rather than subject matter, but yes. So yeah, absolutely. So let's see. So I guess Bob, you're next if on our screen. So go for it.
Okay.
There you go. Great.
I was just writing you a note. On Thursdays, I've been attending these Zoom meetings with Stage 32.
Uh-huh.
They do this practice pitch sessions.
Great.
That's what I'm going to be doing next week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and most of the pitches are pretty horrible, but the moderators, they're not terrifically experienced, but they make some good points. And I've noticed some people are improving their pitches. Just watching them, listening, has really helped me. I've come a long way with my pitch since I took your class.
Great.
So, and I just wanted to check in here with you this evening and see how it's going. Congratulations on the Emmy nomination.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
Yeah, well, thanks. So
are you going to go to the Emmys? Do you get to go now?
I don't know. We'll find out. We'll see how it all progresses. But
yeah, that's great.
But yeah.
But
thanks.
So I just wanted to say hello. And my pitches, I'm working it out of my mind, and I'm going to do it for them eventually. But it's been helpful, and it's a good thing to do. You get a group of people and do pitches.
That's
Most
great.
are really terrible.
Yes.
Most of them just tell the story, and I've written comments in the sidebar and said, no, you shouldn't just tell the story. Anyway, so I think I made real progress here.
Good.
So
that's great. And it's good to share that pitching is, no matter how long you're at it, it's really hard. It's just hard.
Yes.
And I don't know if I told it to you last time, but a while back, I was saying it used to be to pitch, we had to be good in a room. Now we have to be good on Zoom.
Yes, that's true. But also,
so anyway,
it's interesting because again, the question always is, okay, well, first of all, I of course love making stuff. I love making stuff, building audience that way. The way I go about things, and I prefer that because part of the problem is a lot of people. The reason they can't pitch is because the story isn't sound, and the reason the story isn't sound is because they haven't tried shooting any of it with actors to see if it works. So sometimes really trying stuff out and seeing if it works is a great first way of telling. I mean, that can be a table read, that can be any number of things, but really getting it up on its feet, you can see very readily what works. And
but a table read is like really good, and you can see where you think something is very clear because it's clear in your mind. Isn't that clear?
Yes.
Because it has to do with your experience that many people haven't shared. And
I did the table read with you guys.
Yes, we remember. Yeah, and it was.
But I have some hesitations on table reads unless you can get together with the people who are going to do the read and go over a few things.
Of course. Yes.
Because it's a lot to ask of an actor to sit down without ever seeing it and go through the whole script.
Right. No, you don't want to do it that way anyway.
No, that's a good point. That isn't how you do a table read.
No.
You definitely get actors who are willing to pre-read it and have a conversation with them.
Right.
Because there's nothing worse than somebody reading something like a melodrama that's supposed to be a knockout comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to. They have to be comfortable and familiar with tone. The reason I'm twisting around so much is my dog is insisting
She's going to take the dogs down.
The dogs downstairs.
Yeah, but
my shoes are
Bob,
off.
I just want to say I will help you anytime you want an actor to read for any of your scripts. It doesn't
Sure.
matter at all.
Great.
I don't mind doing it.
Terrific.
And definitely, it's more fun for an actor and better for you if they're prepared. If
Yes.
you just
Yes.
have them
course.
go in blindly, they might be able to pull something off as they start to read and figure out, oh, this character's kind of a jerk.
Yes.
They won't know that though, but if you give it to them,
So they've already
if you give it to them early, then they have some time to at least prepare and be like, you know what? I think I know what this character archetype is, and that means I can approach it and give them something to go on. And I don't want to take up any more time here, but I just said if you ever need that, I'm more than
But
happy.
my
That's
thing is
great.
now is
Yeah.
it's got to read good.
Yeah, sure.
The script has to read right,
Well,
first of all.
Well, yeah, of course.
But I'm not sure what to do with it. I heard on the news today that they're starting to do productions in film and TV in
Mhm.
England, in France, in Germany,
Mhm.
and in Korea, everywhere but here,
Yeah.
because we're so screwed up.
Well,
So we'll see how things go. LA's
Exactly.
getting worse. I think we're gonna have to go back to sheltering in place again.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm worried about it.
yeah.
Bob, I did
Huh?
I did
Huh?
your table read. I'll do it again if you want me to.
Sure.
Great.
Okay.
But it's the same one. I have improved it.
Good.
So that's all I'm doing now.
Okay.
Well, some other things.
Okay. Well,
And
that's
I want to check in and see how everyone's doing here.
great.
I'm a little bummed out on doing Zoom meetings right at the moment, so I'm going to leave pretty soon.
Okay.
These Zoom meetings are great. I've been doing some, I think I told you, at variety.com, they have the streaming thing, and you get all the actors from the big shows. They'll do a show and then sit around and talk about it. And
Wow.
I'm so impressed with some of these, like Better Call Saul. They did the last episode of the season, and I watched it, and then listened to these actors, and I think, God, they're such good actors because they're totally different.
That's great. That's great.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, well, that's good. But the also, we just did a Space Command 2-part episode that utilized all of the Zoom technology and all of that because we did it during the pandemic. So it's interesting to So if you want, you can go on Mr. Sci-Fi and you can watch our first episode, which was done the standard way with 900 visual effects shots and all of that. And then this 2-hour episode is a companion piece that has all the same famous actors and more. I mean, Barbara Bain, for God's sake, is in it, and Christina Moses and so forth. But you can see how we use the technologies available to us now.
Remotely.
Yes. And the actors shot their own scenes with their own cameras and all, here and
Mr. Sci-Fi. Yeah, I'm going to check that
check it out. You'll
because,
enjoy it.
I'm making at least creating a couple of scenes might be a good way to go.
Yes.
I'll have to think about it. I don't like spending a lot of money on it.
No. But at the end of the day, it's the real question is what do you actually want to have happen, and what's the most direct route to that occurring? I mean, see, the challenge is that all of those executives who are at all the different networks and studios are besieged by submissions. So what's going to get their attention? What's going to get them to notice you? And so it becomes a strategic game as well as one of credibility. And so that's always the challenge. And so there's many different ways that I.
So you say just maybe do a couple of scenes, or
it's sort of like, first of all, doing scenes, of course, is useful because you can see what works, and but more than that, if you post it, you might start to get a following. Like, for instance, when Tom Katzis did that interview with a millennial, it was seen by pretty much every human being on Earth, and that got him work, and so It's just, So, but there's a million different ways to make this stuff happen. So
mine isn't expensive to make, but I need to use someone's house in Echo Park or an old LA house.
Yeah.
That would take some research right there.
Yes. Well, but this is, I'm sorry, Bob, go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm looking at the obstacles to doing that.
Yeah.
But that's not so bad, really.
The decision to do something it's funny. A lot of people make a mistake thinking that the decision to do this or that is based on logistics and difficulty. It's not at all. The primary deciding factor of whether something gets made or not is simply the decision to do it. If you actually decide you're going to do something and you decide that no matter what, you're going to get it done, it gets done. You just have to be very inventive and very resolute. But that's the deciding factor. It's never money. It's never anything. It's how committed am I to doing this, and am I going to get to the finish line? And then it just becomes a fascinating game of juggling different possibilities to make stuff happen. You know, it's fun. Anyway, anything else, Bob?
No, that's it.
Okay.
You know, so good to see everyone, and thanks.
Great.
And I'll think about that. I'm pretty happy with. I keep polishing this script, and it's much better than when I did the first.
Well, that's
much
good.
Better.
Because if you kept polishing it and kept getting worse, that would be problematical.
That's All right.
So,
All right. See you all.
3 cheers.
Bye.
So, hi, Adam. Do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Yes, we do. And Bob just left, but I did leave a link to Ripple Effects in the chat.
Great.
If you guys want to copy that and watch it later.
Yeah, and again, that's the 2-hour companion piece. You can actually watch the first hour as well on Mr. Sci-Fi, which is our pilot, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, you could. It's probably better to watch the pilot first.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah, but just
either way.
But just be aware that the Ripple Effect is not the second episode in order. We're in post production on the second episode that finishes.
It's technically 2.5.
It's whatever it is.
Yeah.
So was there a question?
Either way. Yes. Our next question is from Ziggy again,
Hi,
who
Ziggy.
asks, "Have you heard any info on the Farscape revival?"
I saw that he was doing new cartoons, and I want to go on his website and see them because, of course, his stuff is great. And so yeah, he's I mean,
did you say Farscape or
No.
Far Side?
Farscape.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard Far Side. Sorry about that.
Rock New
Farscape.
Abandon,
Oh, Rock. Okay. Sorry.
The Far Sides are pretty good.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
Hey, Jeff.
Rock was telling me something about that. Every few years, there's talk of bringing Farscape back, and I think he's working on that now, but I don't know much of the details. So yeah. So let's see, Michelle. I guess you're next on my screen. If you want to jump in and rock and roll.
Yeah. Hi. I was going to apologize for eating while this is going on, but I realized, first of all, I never had lunch.
Right.
And secondly, if we were at Marie Callender's, we'd all be eating.
Yes,
so,
that's true. It's fine.
One way or another. So there you are. Let's see. I've got a question for the group, and I'm going to put it. I will put it out on the email.
Sure.
But meanwhile, I have discovered in the course of clearing a lot of files that I have this device. This is a hinge tape in a format that apparently is known only to cavemen. What's on it is the rotoscope that I did of Jana of the Jungle.
Huh. Wow.
So it's playable. I asked one person who said he thought that it was in a format called Concord, which is some sort of video machine format that was from God knows when. Getting the original rotoscopes from Hanna-Barbera, which is now owned by Time Warner, would be pretty much impossible, and they may not even have them anymore. But I would really like to have this, and so if anybody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who has a machine that might be able to play this and find out if it's usable, that would be great.
Several suggestions I would make. Obviously, talk to David Bartlett, see if he knows. But beyond that, you could contact the UCLA TV archive, because they've got a lot of different systems to transcribe stuff. That would be a good place to start. You might also...
I thought of that.
There's also the Paley Center, but they don't have the one here. They have the one in New York. They closed the one here. But those would be two places that would be likely to have what you would need.
Did you say that's film or videotape?
It's, as far as I know, it's videotape.
Really? On a hub? I've never seen that.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird. And the person that I thought knew stuff about this contacted somebody that he said knows all these things, which is how I got this word Concord to describe it. That it is likely Concord.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's interesting. Meanwhile, I am about to do something. I think it's going to go through. I'm about to do something that I have not done in many years, which is called taking a straight job.
Wow.
It's going to make my landlord really happy.
Yes.
Because he's not happy now. I found something which, when it's actually happening, I'll let everybody know. But it's something that will leave me flex time that I can get to auditions, and that if I've got a gig, I can do the gig as long as I tell them in advance that I'm doing it.
Great.
So it's been uphill and down dale looking for something that was something that I could, that I'm able to do, and B, that will not make me crazy. Because great jobs tend to do that. And I'm still in process of clearing and organizing a ton of stuff, and I am selling books. And I am right at the moment, I have a whole lot of books on ballet and dance, many of which I need no longer. Some of which I found I had duplicates on, which tell you how I acquire books. And getting rid of a lot of, if anybody is interested in a whole lot of paperbacks of short stories, I have a ton of short story collections, which might well be fodder for anthologies or features, you know, if you want to go through them for inspiration, if any of the writers are interested. And I am allergic to putting books in the trash. I don't do that. So
great. Terrific.
So I'll be putting that out on the email too.
Okay.
So, you know, 10 cents a book, that's what you pay me.
Okay, great.
That's it.
Okay, yay, 3 cheers. So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, our next question is from Scott Baker.
Yay, the other Scott
our regulars are back. It's great.
Yeah.
The question is, has there ever been a time when you were involved with a sci-fi story in writing or production when technology suddenly advanced in a way that made your storyline seem less futuristic?
No. It's interesting because science fiction has certain tropes. I mean, some people might think that Space Command is less futuristic than it might be, but it's deliberately picking up on sort of the shared universe that Bradbury and Asimov and Heinlein and Arthur C. Clarke were writing, and those assumptions that we would colonize the solar system and then jump to the stars. So the fascinating thing is that in certain areas, science has overtaken science fiction. So for instance, with the internet and so forth, but in terms of space exploration, it hasn't. We, fell behind in that because manned space exploration did not continue. It became robotic. And so now we're just kind of, I mean, we could have landed on Mars in the 1970s. We had the technology, but not the political will. So fortunately, I haven't had that problem. Though it's very interesting, there's the whole question of science fiction writers who predicted the future, and that's a very interesting thing to look at. They're not deliberately doing that, but Ray Bradbury in Fahrenheit 451 has wall screen TVs. He's got phones that you put in your ear, like a little earphone. I mean, he really came up with a lot of stuff that we actually ultimately saw come to fruition. So that's pretty cool. So I think I want to do Scheipel Green. You know, you guys, yeah, because yes, Michelle.
Could I say, you know, one of the things that is like one of my earliest memories is something that's almost science fiction-y.
Yes.
Is Dick's two-way wrist radio.
Yes, Dick Tracy, yeah.
Which is like one of the earliest things. And yet, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I was rereading The Demolished Man, which is set very far in the future.
Yes.
He's still going to a payphone.
Yes. Yes.
He's got flying cars, but he's going to a payphone.
Well, that's right. Because they didn't know.
Not everybody predicts everything.
That's right. In the 50s, you know, they could predict certain things, but not everything. So let's go to Shy and Billy. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it, guys.
Hi. How are you guys?
Hi.
Yeah. So I don't know if Dave has spoken yet, but we do have a question regarding composing the sound. Dave sent some files over for Billy so he could work on the score, but they're not opening on our computer, so I don't know if what type of file we need for his computer. He uses Logic. Right?
Logic. Yeah, I sent both over both. David Bartlett's not here. He might know. I sent over both an AAF and an OMF of the audio for about a 10-minute scene that he said Shy and Billy did, and a reference video, but it's not matching up. And I'm not an audio engineer. I don't know that end of it. I just confirmed that what I sent was the right frame rate. I'm wondering if anybody else has any ideas. Mark, have you come across any issues like that?
Can
you repeat what the issue is?
Yeah, so there was a syncing issue on one of the files, and then he had sent 4 files over, but only one of the 4 would actually open, and the one that does open is not it. It doesn't sync up.
Well, as I recall, I sent a reference video, an AAF, and an OMF. Do you recall which one opened?
Yeah, the MP4 or whatever.
Yeah, an MP4 opened.
Yeah, that's
the only one that would actually open.
Okay, so well, if I have to, I can send you the audio tracks as separate WAV files. It just won't have any stems on it. I mean, not sorry, stems. It won't have any handles on it.
If you export an OMF in Premiere, you can do it with WAV files. And because I just did this for Earl, like literally right before I came on this, you can export the OMF with the separate files as WAV with handles.
That's true. I can't export them as instead of encapsulated. That's true.
Yes.
Good idea.
I've had pretty good luck with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Why don't I try that? The problem is it might be a bunch of files. We'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, a main issue I should add here too is that I record tons of my own music all the time, and that is what I do on a regular basis. But I just with a DAC into my DAW through Logic that I'm running through. But outside of that, I'm ridiculously technically unsavvy. So the issue might very well be on my end. I don't even know. Like I can get good tones. I can record entire records, but that's just me plugging my gear in and making music. This is a different thing.
In this case, you're trying to do a mix and a sound design on a film for the first time.
Exactly.
When Earl comes on, and he's going to be on in a little bit, because I just got off the phone with him like 15 minutes ago, and he said he's going to come on. Ask him how he's going to handle it, because he's not only doing music on my piece, he's also doing the sound. So, I mean, we are definitely not locking picture until we lock the music, because I'm waiting for some graphics to come in.
Right.
But I'd find out what programs he's using and how he's doing it. He's pretty smart with this stuff. So he is doing both music and sound.
Great.
Okay, cool.
And I guess worst case scenario, we could just look at the time code at the bottom and say when something starts, right?
Sure, that's easy enough. But let me try to do that thing Mark suggested. Let me try to send it to you as individual files.
Great. So is there anything else you need?
Nope, I don't. Well, if you guys would like to watch the show, that'd be great. We just got into the Minnesota Web Fest.
Oh, cool. That's great.
So we got that today. So.
Well,
hooray.
Well,
you getting any sleep?
No.
Nope.
No.
And where are you located? And where are you located again?
Well, we're in New Orleans, but things have maybe changed, and we might go to like Northern California for the next year, and then come back because my surgery's been pushed until like next July.
Wow.
And so we're thinking about going there because my family has a cabin there, so
that
you don't have to pay rent.
Yeah, that's there's a lot to be said for that. And but make sure that you post a link on, I guess, the chat here, but also you can send an email out, or David can send an email out with a link to your show and everyone can see it. So absolutely, that's something to do.
Yeah, just send me the link you want to send. Northern California is great, but I'm sure you'll miss the alligators.
I will very much. I've made friends with a lot of them.
Well,
I'll send you some good videos.
There's plenty of alligators in LA, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're very right about that.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, 3 cheers. It's good to see you guys. So, yay.
Well, thank you.
Cheers. So, Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
We do, and that's great there that you got into the Minnesota web festival. That's just super.
Right? Okay.
Oh, you betcha. No. So let's see. Our next question is from Mark Lungo. He asks, how can the right or wrong title affect a story? And he also says, please tell the Bionic 6 junk pile story.
Oh, God, I don't even remember that story anymore. Oh, yes. This, let's see, what was it? I can't even remember, Mark. Yeah, it was back when I was writing the Bionic 6. It wasn't that great a show, and so I wrote one story where a junk pile came alive. It was a monster, and I was so frustrated by that show. What did I call it? This garbage is disgusting, something like that. And it was as kind of. But then they changed the title to, like, I guess, junk pile or whatever it was. But that's long ago and far away. But definitely titles are very, very important. And it's very funny because many times the author will come up with a good title, and then back in the days of the pulp magazines and the 50s science fiction and 60s science fiction, they would put a much worse title on it. I remember when George Clayton Johnson came up with, there was a great Twilight Zone episode that George Clayton Johnson came up with a story for called The Four of Us Are Dying, which was about a guy who can change his face. And George's original title on the story was All of Us Are Dying, and the agent, with the idea of making it more saleable, crossed that out and wrote, I think he wrote Rubber Face. That was the agent's title for that story. So fortunately, Sterling somehow saw All of Us Are Dying. He saw the original title and then put it back to that with The Four of Us Are Dying, which is, again, a very good title. So yeah, that's always a danger. So let's see. Oh, Dave, why don't we take you? You've been sitting there for a while. Go for it.
Okay, and speaking of which, not just titles, but log lines. I submitted something this week. It's a piece that's been optioned 4 or 5 times. A low budget thing, but nobody was able to get the funding for it. But it's the thing that I've had optioned more than anything. And the response was, it's very similar to something else they're considering. And so I got to work on the log line to make the log line as unique as the screenplay. So consider that as well.
Yes.
Dave Edison, I know just about everyone here, but for those of you who don't, I'm the editor of Space Command and other things, working on a piece for Shy and Billy on the weekends and spare time that as I find it, which is often late night. And that's a piece called South of Sanity, which is it's just a dysfunctional Southern comedy, and there's a little bit of drama in there, and then there's a little bit of decadence, everything that anyone could want. So that's about right. I'm getting the fingers up there. Good. Anyway, so editor of Space Command, we got
fingers.
Yes, that's what it is. I couldn't think. Devil horns. Yes. So Space Command, we got the pandemic episode Ripple Effect done by the skin of our teeth.
Yes. And
that's done. There have been, since then, we put out some interviews with some of the cast and crew. Adam, I sent your interview over to Mark. Actually, I sent my interview over to Mark, which Mark posted. It has some behind-the-scenes glimpses of what goes on in the editing process of Space Command and other things. It's even got glimpses of me as a stand-up comic, which I did for 22 years. And if you want to see any more of that, well, let's see. Go to daveedison.com and scroll to the bottom. There's a link of my stand-up comedy reel when I was young and had hair and potential. So So beyond that, I don't know, this and that. Mark was nice enough to post. I mentioned during the my chat with Mark on that interview that that I had written a picture book, which most of you know about, The Man with the List, a picture book for grown-ups who can't believe in the unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an animated version of it that I did and read. It only runs about 3.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mark posted the link on his Mr. Sci-Fi page. So
yeah, it was fun.
So go and take a look if you like.
Yeah.
Listen, it's not for everyone, but what is?
Yes, that's true. No, it's
anyway,
a lot of fun.
And now if you see me looking up, those of you who are actually seeing the Zoom call here, if I'm looking up, I'm not watching a movie or anything. I'm exporting shots to the VFX team of Space Command. So
great.
That's what I'll do. What I'm doing during the meeting, something I'm not able to do during Marie Calendar meetings.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay, Dave.
Be well, folks. Take care.
Thanks. So, Susan, why don't we have you talk for a minute?
There. I have to run real quick to get the my producer because he's here with me, but he's in the next room. I'll be right back.
Sure. Yeah. Well, why don't
Okay.
And in the meantime, I can
Mr. Sci-Fi. Yeah, go for it.
Do a Mr. Sci-Fi question.
I was hoping to talk about it behind your back.
So this question is from another question from Wilhelm Sowers.
Hi, Wilhelm.
And he asks, will major characters be killed off if it advances the story?
Yes. Yeah. And now also, by the way, for those Space Command fans, we have a Kickstarter campaign going. Anything that helps us a lot. We're trying to clear $1,000 a day to make our target. And it's slowed a bit, so any way that anyone can help, it's much appreciated. So okay, great. So now you're back. Go for it.
Regarding characters that are killed off, are we able to make suggestions?
That's funny. So great.
Technically, some of them just die of natural causes because of the span of the. But anyway,
yes,
things happen. Things happen. Yeah. So hi, Susan. Go for it.
Hi. Yeah. Remember last week I felt really bad. I lost the producer.
Yes.
But now I got a better one.
Yay.
His name was Arthur Nazaro.
Hi.
And I put already a little info asking about a pitch deck. We're working on a pitch deck because we have a lot of good people. One might be she's a potential executive producer / director.
Great.
Black woman, and I'm really thrilled with her. And she wants a pitch deck.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Shy and Billy, for offering to send your pitch deck. We want to see as many as we can because we're getting one that's pretty good, but we want to do pretty great.
Great.
There's something else I want to ask Shy and Billy about Louisiana. We're thinking about filming in Louisiana. The actual story took place in North Carolina in an inland port. But Louisiana has a good feel, and I'm wondering, is it a good place to do film?
I love it. I love it here. It is great for film. The only thing is you do have to be conscientious of like tornado season, hurricane season. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hurricane season, because during that time you could lose your budget by having to push things.
It rains 90% of the time. It may be 85.
No, it doesn't.
It's pretty brutal.
It does not. He just thinks it rains a lot because we came from LA, but it's normal weather.
Going to Northern California, that's where I'm from. That's pretty dry.
Did I mention alligators?
Yeah, that's the good part.
But there has been a lot of filming here, and I actually moved here years ago specifically to get more work, and I did when I came here.
So how's the film office?
We did all of it.
How is the
you know what? I'm closer with the Mississippi film office than I am New Orleans, just because we filmed in Mississippi last season.
I see.
And I became really good friends with the guy on the Gulf, which is literally 45 minutes from New Orleans. And so, but the film office here too, my agent says is wonderful.
Great.
And really, honestly, we did this whole second season under quarantine. So it was all done like this on Zoom and phone. So the actual filming in New Orleans in real life, we didn't really truly do.
Did Arthur ask a question?
I was just wondering about the architecture and how it compares to North Carolina where this originally happened. And
well, there's definitely a lot of old buildings and plantation houses and stuff.
Colonial, like colonial plantation.
Yeah, and I think there's a website you can look up because we were scouting for a show for that or a movie a few years ago, and they have the actual colonials that you can go see in Louisiana and where they are.
Yes, that's good to know. Oh, that's great news.
And also,
I know we wanted to ask you, Mark, to come in and too. On a pitch deck, what kind of financial stuff should we say? I mean, what do you do?
Depends on who you're pitching to. If it's potential people who are going to be putting up money, then you need a top sheet basically of the budget, which is like, okay, this is how much it's going to cost and this is where the money's going to go. But if you're pitching to an actor, that's not nearly as relevant. I mean, it just depends on who it's aimed for. Basically depending on where we're pitching. For instance, we just had a very good meeting with the CEO of Cachette, it's a very, very big and successful television production and distribution company. And so in that case, you might talk budget a little, but not a lot. Whereas there's someone who's actively trying to raise $30 million for us. And in that case, yes, she does need top sheets on our different TV shows. What's called a pattern budget, which means a per episode.
Budget?
Yeah, well, that's a TV term. You don't need it on a feature. A pattern budget means the average cost of an episode. So, for instance, one episode you might do would cost less. One episode might cost more, but the average cost over a season would be like $3.5 million or whatever per episode. And that's called the pattern budget. And but again, a lot of times the budgetary numbers you can just say this is going to cost $3 million or whatever. When you're having most conversations, you just have to make sure in those cases that when you're talking to, like, say, a production company or a potential buyer, that they make films within that budgetary range. So in other words, if someone's written $100 million movie, going to a little company is useless because the only ones who can finance that are certain very, very big players, So
it's if you can find someone who will do you a budget that's high, low.
Yes.
And a high budget if you get a certain kind of name that would draw a certain number of audience versus a smaller names that would draw a smaller amount of audience.
Yes.
So that would be a low budget, depending on how you shoot it, what the strategy is. But it's often good if you're asking somebody else to pay for it, especially a company, to have in your own mind a high, low, and how you would shoot both.
Yeah. Yep. But also in terms of, as Shai and Billy were saying, if you contact the film offices of different states, they can send you images that are appropriate to the project you're doing. That they're very happy to do that. So you can absolutely contact the different southern states and see what makes the most sense. And that's pretty easily done.
And they'll tell you who's available in terms of crew.
Yes, and also remember in terms of production, it's like there's a lot of sleight of hand that you can do. So in other words, if you're just using an establishing shot of a plantation house, then that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go there and do a lot of production there, because if it's just an establishing shot and then you cut to the interior. So it depends on what the specifics of the show are, of the movie, So there's a lot one can do. So other questions, Susan? Oh, I'm sorry.
Talking about stock pictures. I mean,
not necessarily stock. In some cases, it might be sending out a B unit. It depends on what you need. But I mean, for instance, in Ripple Effect, because we were doing that during the pandemic, there was an establishing shot of the hero's house. I just went out in the neighborhood, found a house that looked reasonable, and grabbed a shot of it with my phone, and we dropped it in, and done. So it's like, it's whatever works. But again,
just to make it a little less recognizable, I flipped the shot.
Yes.
And zoomed in just a touch so that we didn't see the address out front. It was flipped anyway by that point.
Yes, exactly. So yeah. So Mark, anything else, Susan? Any other questions?
Yes, Mark.
Yeah, please.
Well, my focus on this pitch deck, the first focus was to get the graphics and the story presented as well as we could.
Yes.
But now I'm trying to get the more substantial part of it with the financial page, the the marketing strategy, where the revenue streams would come from.
Mm-hmm.
And,
sure.
And so it's got to, if we want to ask for more than 10 cents, you better put some time into it.
Yes.
Show somebody why it's worth their while.
Yes, yes. And again, I tend to like to work with people who've succeeded with something. So in other words, for instance, the reason we were having this conversation with the head of Cachette was because I needed some financial numbers, some answers to financial questions regarding profitability of television series to give to this person who's raising the $30 million. And I didn't want to just talk to people and make stuff up out of air. I wanted to actually talk to someone who was successfully selling TV shows and actually knew the real answers. And so in terms of coming up with pitch deck and financials, definitely finding people who have succeeded and know what they're talking about. Because, you know, it's funny because pitch decks have become all the rage in recent times. And I see the validity of utilizing them. But again, a lot of people make pitch decks that accomplish nothing. And, you know, so you really have to say, okay, what's actually working and how is it working?
Well, and it's a little tough for financials right now because everything is changing in terms of the distribution patterns. Now, in terms of getting the movie made, you want to be careful to get a line producer who is familiar with the area. I mean, if the Film Commission knows a really good Louisiana guy who can pull in favors, that's nice, you know, because a line producer who produces a lot there, he can pull in favors because he does a lot of film, so he'll know the equipment houses. Mm-hmm. Or you get someone who does a lot of shooting all over the country, but you want someone who is not a studio line producer who do top dollar, but someone who knows how to work with independents.
Yes.
So once you have a line producer, though, normally pre-COVID, pre-closing of the theaters, I would have said, well, go to several distribution entities who are appropriate fit for your film and ask them about, you know, about some figures. They'll give you figures. But right now, what you want to do is to say, okay, given when you expect it to be released, what kind of platforms seem realistic? And then you can call and ask questions, but you have to target your pattern release, how you think you're going to release it, and then you can find out what's appropriate. Because I would, in budgeting a film, I used to go to whatever distribution entities I thought might be a possibility and say, I'm making this kind of film, I've got this kind of lead, I'm thinking of this kind of budget. Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. And they would say, yeah, or they would say, you need 2 more good, strong B actors to sell it at that rate, or they'd say, please lower your budget. They want product, and they would just tell me. Mm-hmm. But it's a little harder now. You have to see who's on the cutting edge and what's going on when you think that this thing will be in the can.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Is there any? Is it possible that you have a good example of a pitch deck with solid financials that would be something that I could model what we're trying to do?
We don't really have anything like that right now, simply because
mine is too old. Mine are too
old.
Hers
are yeah.
I have pitched them, but they're just too
that
old.
Was when she was expecting Dewey to win the presidency. But the she's joking. But the but no, but
that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but the but seriously, it's again what I spend a lot of time doing is gathering teams of people who I can ask things of when I need them, but I spend years gathering, like for instance, I know a lot of showrunners. Those are the executive producers who create and run network shows, dramas, and or for instance, we're starting a podcast called Greenlighting Yourself, which is the same title as a book I've just sold. But the reason we're doing that podcast is so that I can reach out to like the head of roadside attractions and ask him a whole bunch of questions about how you sell shows and what works and what doesn't work in the changing landscape, and that's a way of me educating myself as to what's actually happening now and what's successful now, because it changes so radically.
But if you talk to some people, I've gotten a lot of help from department heads, like my DP. Mm-hmm. My DP led me to a line producer. I mean, these are people who are constantly working and have been in the field, but if you find someone you really love, just look to your department heads and they will probably be able to help direct you to other people who will help you put it together.
Example. I don't know if I'm going to go as far as you're suggesting. I'm just looking for a good example of whatever a good pitch deck is.
I would call Film Independent. It's an organization of independent filmmakers. They might have some sample.
I'm speaking.
What is it?
Film Independent.
What did you say?
Film Independent. It's an organization of independent filmmakers, and they might have sample pitch decks. It's possible.
But also put it out to the table.
Yeah, if you put an email out to the table, somebody's going to have all that stuff. I mean, David Bartlett's done those kind of things. He's put them together, so he probably has samples.
And I was working in the way back when I was doing these things more regularly, and it was business plans rather than pitch decks.
Yes.
Well, that's what I look at it as, because that's what I've worked before.
Yes.
Now that in this industry, it's a pitch deck instead of a promotion package or something.
Right. But again, really look toward what you've done in the past that has worked and how you can utilize it and adapt it to now. Because again, it's all about getting people to trust you to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. And so I always, so what I do is I look at what I've done that's succeeded. And for instance, like with, people are always talking about book proposals and all this stuff. You know, I've had bestsellers in fiction and nonfiction, as well as, of course, having written a ton of television. And like on, the last book I sold, I didn't sell it on a proposal. I sold it on 2 words. I called I actually contacted 2 publishers, and because I came up with this title, Greenlighting Yourself. We were going to teach a class called How to Start Your Own Studio. And no one was interested in that. They didn't want to start their own studio. So by weird steps, the name of the class evolved to Greenlighting Yourself. So I went on Amazon, assuming that someone must have written a book with that title, and I was astonished that no one had. And so I contacted 2 publishers I knew, and I said, would you like a book entitled Greenlighting Yourself? And one of them said yes, and it was a book sale. And now I'm having to write it, but which is the downside of that. But the point being that the rules are so nebulous. There's so many exceptions to the rule, and so the real question is what will work. And then you just the more they know you and the more they trust you, the less you have to do to sell something, to pitch it. And so it's building those relationships, building the trust of the people who have the power to say yes. That's very, very helpful. So, but anything else?
I would also suggest, depending on how deep you're going to go in the budget with the pitch deck, is to include in the budget provisions for higher insurance costs and especially if you're going to be using SAG actors, your different COVID compliance officers, because there's new requirements due to the virus.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Be aware of that.
Sure. Anything else, guys?
Well, from what you say, it sounds like finding the marketing channels, the distribution networks, in a totally fluid, you can't even call it a market, but destruction of the markets.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like that's one of the critical things I need to learn a lot more about.
It's really the first step is, now have you produced features before? Have you been down that road?
No, I made a documentary or 2.
Okay.
That's about it.
That's fine. Well, see, the question one always has to ask is, what is the shortest route to what I want to accomplish? And so for the first step, of course, is clarity as to what you want to accomplish. And then you look at the people you've worked with before who know that you're reliable, and you see if any of them have made the jump from documentaries to dramatic features. And some of them can be advisors to you, some of them can be potential buyers. It depends on but you start with who you know who might be able to mentor you in what you want to do if it's something you haven't done before. But the main thing is to say, okay, what do I want? Do I want this to sell this to Netflix? Do I want to sell it to Amazon? Do I want to, whether or not there'll be movie theaters in the next, few years, we don't know that. So again, everything's evolving. But again, it's sort of like, okay, what's the most direct route? Now, obviously, a talent attachment, if you can get a movie star to want to make that movie, that's great, because then it becomes something that's appealing to a buyer.
What's more common now is experienced producers. They don't say I have a movie. They don't say I have a miniseries. They say they have content, because sometimes you surprise yourself as to where it finds a home.
Yes.
And you may see yourself as a feature, and they say, could that be a 3-part documentary or a 3-parter
miniseries?
And you say, actually, then I wouldn't have to lose all this great research.
Right.
So sometimes you want to be a little bit fluid and see what's available, as long as you know the heart of your story and the optimum for you as to how long or how short it can be. It gives you tremendous flexibility.
Yes. But again, the main thing is to avoid bullshit. I mean, really do your due diligence about anyone you're pitching to, anyone you're meeting with, because there's such a waste of time and energy involved. And so so that's why, again, a big part of my process is being mentored by people who know what they're doing and making sure that the people I'm pitching to are real. It's really simple. I mean, the lovely part about the way we're doing things now is that my audience finances me, and that helps enormously, because then it's a very direct route from asking for money, getting money, shooting the thing, putting out to my audience. And, that's lovely. Now, at the same time, I'm pitching to Amazon and all those guys, but I'm not dependent on them. And that's, again, a lovely feeling of creative freedom. But film and TV are expensive pursuits. Books are less expensive to make. And but even with books now, we have the choice always of going with an established publisher or putting something up on Amazon. So there's a lot of different ways of doing things now. It's fascinating. So anything else, guys? And then we'll do Carol after that.
Oh, I appreciate your insights and your wisdom, both of you. It's fascinating.
You bet.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yay.
And everybody else who contributed.
Of course.
Thank you, Seth.
Of course. So Adam,
Adam.
Yeah. So Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
We do. We have another question from Ziggy.
Oh, good.
Asking, would you take a trip to space or to the moon if you had the chance?
Space would be very, very interesting. The moon doesn't interest me particularly. I find the moon sort of boring. Mars is definitely cool, and certainly going on a submarine under the ice in the oceans of Europa is very, very cool. But again, we'll see what happens. It's early in the day, but space is definitely interesting. To be able to look out a window and see the Earth from space would be very cool. I mean, when I was a kid, I loved the moon rocket at Disneyland. That was really, really a wonderful experience. So Carol, I guess you're up. I've been noticing you've been putting your leg up in front of the screen a lot, stretching. So
I'm trying to stretch today. So excuse me.
Excuse me.
We consider ballet dance. Consider it normal. Everybody else considers it inappropriate. So fall where you may. Michelle, something that you said on Facebook. There's something called Buy Nothing, and you can sell and buy stuff for free on Facebook. I know you're trying to get rid of stuff, so that you might like that. Mr. Markle, I think your cousin's father was in my house. Where are you?
I'm.
Are you still there?
Here.
Mr. Markle.
My cousin's father.
No, I'm talking to Mr. Markle now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
His cell phone battery may have died.
Mr. Markle took off. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I did a Kroger. I'm an actress. I did a Kroger commercial in 2002. And I got an $18 residual check for it last night.
Wow, you're cleaning up.
Wow,
you're cleaning up. That's the.
I'm so excited. I ripped it open and went, where's the other? Wait, there's not enough money in here.
No, that's the good life. Wow, $18. I've gotten residual checks for $1.
That should be framed.
Yeah. When the postage is greater than the amount of the check, there's a problem. So, yeah. But great. So go ahead, Carol, please.
Okay. All right. 36 commercials, 20 shows in New York. I was an actress, dancer, singer.
Great.
And ad infinitum. What do you need? I can do whatever table needs you want. Okay, so I'm done with that. I wanted to say this because I hope this will help you all. That I went through this stress, and I don't want you to. I hope this will help you all. Try to make it quick. Long story short, quick. I still see Susan Flake because you're all over the screen. It's really nice. Where did Mark go? I don't see Mark.
I'm here. I don't know. I'm still here.
You're there. Okay.
Yeah.
I did a show in February. This guy came backstage to congratulate me, and he has quite a nice production studio, and has written symphonies, and he's really a jack of all trades. Long story short, he wanted to work with me on something I'm writing. So I just discovered a couple weeks ago, he didn't really want to work with me on something I'm writing. He wanted to take it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And every iteration, I look at the script and go, I didn't write that. And now I cannot show it to someone and put my name on it because he's changed it so much. So now, this was a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
He has not called me. He has not emailed me. We're in the middle of this. No. I mean, it's amateur night on parade. I can't believe it.
My gosh.
I can't believe it. But for a couple of weeks, I was really frozen and really sad. And I just offer up to you guys that sometimes we are doomed, and go through the grief of it. And then on the other end, wash your hands and move on.
Yes.
This guy's not going to stop me. He wanted me to be in a movie that he's really shooting a movie with Susan Blakesley. And he said, I don't want you to read for it. I don't want you to read for it. Just you have a part. And meanwhile, that got shut down in March. So he doesn't call me back. I mean, that's really uncool to call someone when you're in the middle of something. So, yeah, I'm just going to say, allow yourself to go through whatever you need to go through. But don't let any of these people freeze you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, again, Carol, in that regard, two things. One is it's always about the career. It's not about the individual piece. That's very important. A lot of people get stuck on this is my opus, or this is, this one script, this one film, this one whatever. If you're looking at a long-term career creating many works, that helps a lot, because then you don't, like, for instance, many of us who are actively working writers, we have many irons in the fire, so that if we have a body blow from one thing, there's always several other things that are actually in motion. And that helps a lot to kind of spread out the pain. And the other thing is that I find personally that the manners of people in Hollywood are abominable, just abominable. Not returning calls, not treating people with common courtesy, being arrogant, and it's just so unnecessary. That's one of the reasons I created the table, was because I thought it was just appalling. And but again, if one is treated badly, one doesn't have to keep going back to that well. If someone shows their true colors early on, that's actually a good thing rather than a bad thing, because then you're not wasting years with someone who's totally a maniac,
And to listen to your instinct. If someone doesn't show up, I think they're going to get better tomorrow.
Yes. Well, again, remember, it's sort of like, I tell people at the table often that there are two words. I give them two words. One is the word power. You can take power whenever you decide you're going to take power. And the other is the word no. You can say no to whatever doesn't feel right. And, people often think they have to wait until they've made it, quote unquote, to have power or to be decisive. And that's not true. You don't need everyone to like you. You don't need everyone you don't have to expect that everyone can be a door to the dream coming true. No, the thing is, the more you look for people who have a good heart, who have integrity, who have a body of work that you admire, I mean, there's a reason why so many people act like assholes. It's because they are assholes, and their work often shows that, and their behavior shows that. And so I've made it a point in my career to not work with maniacs, and it's made for a much more pleasant life, So yeah.
Don't forget that the narcissist's dictate is, I get to do what I want. You don't get to comment.
Yes. Well, yeah. So anything else you need?
Carol, I have two more words for you. Jewish lawyer.
Jewish lawyer. That's true too.
Or what?
Yes. Cease and desist. But yeah. So anything else?
I mean, I kept saying to the guy, "Do you want to write a contract between us? Because I'm not quite sure what you are with me on here." And he'd go, "Oh no, oh no."
Right.
So he's with egg on his face, like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
He's not gonna steal it. He's too stupid.
Right. Okay. So anything else?
I think I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Yay. So now it's Marka Gushowitz, the lovely and wonderful Marka Gushowitz.
Hello. Hi, everyone. My name's Mark. I think I know everybody here except for maybe two people. I'm an editor. That's one of them, pointing at her head right there. And okay, so I'm an editor / filmmaker, soon to be / graphics person / color correctionist. Because on my film, I am not only doing a little bit of that, but the graphics guy that I hired for my film seems to like some of the stuff I'm doing so much that we're working on another film, and he's telling the filmmaker, if you want to save money, just have Mark do it. So that makes me feel good. I don't know if I really want to be doing these effects. So short film's going well. I just got the final on one of the graphics. Just talked to Earl about the music. He's starting on for that, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Podcast is moving forward. We were supposed to interview Stunt Guy 2 weeks ago, but it's been postponed twice because of his schedule. Not because he's filming, because there's no filming going on right now, but they put him on a diet, a certain diet for when they start filming. And so the first day got postponed because they haven't eaten at certain times a day. So he couldn't record at a certain time because he had to be eating, I guess. But that's going okay. I'm most of the way through our editing our second episode, which is coming out pretty good. I just started watching something that Mark just uploaded, which is an interview with Dave Edison, which is pretty interesting.
That was fun.
There's a little thing in there where they show a little effect they did with a hand, which is kind of cool. I don't know why you had to, why you guys did all that work. Nobody. It's going to be cool that the hand's there, but now everybody's just going to think somebody raised their hand. Nobody's going to know the work and stuff. So
That's a Dave thing.
I understand what you're talking about. I don't know if anybody else does. Because
Nope, they don't.
So, well, they should go and watch this interview, which is actually pretty interesting because it's also got some background on Dave Edison.
Yeah.
And you should check out his stand-up comedy. When I was in Arizona a couple months back, I actually was sitting there doing nothing. And for some reason, I just looked on his website, and there was his stand-up comedy. It's pretty funny.
Wow, that's great.
Things are starting to slow down for me a little bit, which is good because I was pretty busy for a while. But in this age of pandemics, it's the pandemic. It's not good to be without work.
Yes.
My wife's been without work since the whole thing started,
Wow.
and she, like Michelle, is now looking for regular jobs. She's been a professional fashion designer now for like 25 years, and now she may have to go work at Staples because all these companies are closed.
Wow, Jesus.
It's just really, really a horrible place out there. But we try to stay positive.
Yes.
I've got my editing work, my short film. I'm still trying to figure out how we're gonna, get it out there since the festivals are kind of working very different now. But we're trying to stay positive.
Great.
We're trying to say, well, we'll just do it this way. And Mark had some suggestions. I think like about a month ago about how to get it out, maybe get it over to Dell over at Dark Delicacies, since he's open and stuff like that. So I'm seeing it as a challenge as opposed to a obstacle.
Good.
Great.
Good
That's
for you.
great.
So that's me. That's
Okay.
what I'm doing.
Yay. So, Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
We do. Sorry, I was just chatting with David Bartlett. He's having trouble finding the link. But for the meantime, let's get us Mr. Sci-Fi question in.
Sure.
Another question from Scott Baker, who asks, would an innovation that would dramatically expand opportunity in the entertainment industry be welcomed or fought by those already established?
Depends on what the innovation is, of course. Usually people are not open to new things. That's human nature. But there, it's the luck of the draw. I mean, there are certain things that are wonderful. I mean, like a lot of filmmakers are pissy about shooting digital rather than film, but I really love shooting digital because of the fact that you can see the work immediately. You can edit it much more fluidly. There's just so many pluses. I understand the downside, but so in terms of any innovation, there's always going to be people who dig it and people who are like a little more old school. So, but it depends on what the specific innovation is, of course.
By and large, people do prefer innovation. I mean,
sure.
There's this new, it used to be green screen, but now you can actually, what is it called?
Oh, it's the way The Mandalorian is shooting, where you've got a 75-foot curved screen behind the actors, and you can do real-time VFX behind them that has parallax that moves with the angle of the camera. It's pretty astonishing, expensive, but astonishing. Though I remember when Elaine was talking about innovation, we once had dinner when I was writing animation. We had dinner with one of our friends and his wife at his home, and Elaine was a little reticent about getting her first computer. And the guy got really angry, and he pointed this big finger at her, and he said, "Technology will run you down." And he was serious. That was very, very fun. Very fun. But no, it hasn't. Look, she's still here. So Adam, why don't we give you your turn?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's do that. While I'm here.
Yeah.
Hi guys, Adam Sartain. I'm an actor, voice actor, musician that plays the tuba.
Yay.
And I'm an associate producer on Space Command.
Yay.
Overworked, yay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I also a minor thing that I do is voice lessons, which I just an old client of mine is asking for more lessons. So that just came through like mere hours ago. So that's interesting. Basically like diction lessons, and because he has trouble with mumbling and stuff like that. So I give him vocal exercises to help with that. So there's that. There's Diamond Dragons. As for those of you who are new and didn't get a chance to hear from Matthew Corrado, my friend who I invited tonight, I'm involved with his film, Diamond Dragons. I'm doing voiceovers there. Looks like there's another project I might be involved with doing voiceover for a documentary.
Okay.
So that came through from a contact that I met at a was it an Oscar? It was pre-Oscar. I think it was the info list pre-Oscar party. Somebody I met there is doing a documentary and needs voiceover for it. So lots of things coming out of the woodwork right now. And then of course I've got my regular voiceover auditions that I've been doing. So I think I'm looking pretty busy right now.
Okay, that's great.
Not to mention the stuff I'm doing for Space Command.
Yeah. And pretty soon we're going to be posting the interview that I did with you as part of the Space Command convention. So that'll be very fun. It was a fun conversation.
Yes, so you Mr. Sci-Fi fans out there, and those who aren't Mr. Sci-Fi fans of the table, be sure to watch that. It's a fun interview.
Yes, it was. It was very fun. So, well, anything else, Adam?
No, not for now. I'm good.
Okay, yay, Adam Sartain, ladies and gentlemen. So, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question then?
Really quick though, if I may, I just want to say really quick that I love working with Adam, and obviously it's not just because of his talent with his vocals, but it comes down to something that Mark was talking about earlier with, I believe, Carol and pretty much all of us, is working with people who you really like their work and you like them.
Yes.
And in addition to that, he and I discuss the characters a little bit, and I can get his input, and I'll ask him, hey, what do you think about this with this character you're playing? He's playing a character named Bardiche, which is like a medieval weapon, but he's also a minstrel dragon.
That's great.
He's a musician. So in any case, I'm just trying to say is like I completely resonate and echo with that thing. Is like I hate working with jerks, and Adam is just complete polar opposite of that, and I'm very grateful for it. So Chiong.
That's great.
Oh, shucks.
Great. That's great.
So I'll just shut up now.
Great.
So our next question from Mr. Sci-Fi. Moving on, and thank you for that, Matthew. Moving on, our next question is from Hayes494, and he says, what do you think of the Lower Decks trailer on YouTube and CBS disabling the comments section after so many dislikes?
That's funny. I didn't watch all of it, but what I saw of it was cute. It's got a lot more pep to it than Picard did or Discovery did. It's not gazillion-year-old people, or it's not weighty. I think the fact this animation makes it a little more playful, which is a good thing, because I think Star Trek tries to be important, quote unquote, and as a result, it becomes rather laborious. So it could be fun. It could be a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll be watching it particularly, but I was fine with it. I mean, but again, it's so clear that CBS All Access is making content from their franchises, and it's just product. I mean, I don't think we're going to see the great television show coming from that direction anytime soon, and we'll see. But but great. So I guess it's Thane's turn now. Thane, if you want to go for it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Thane. SAG-AFTRA character actor. I'm staying busy with a variety of things, and recently Dave Bartlett tasked me with a, I guess it's a related project. You know, it's kind of a Happy Girlfriend, Happy David, to see if I could figure out how to get a VCR.
Bane, that's a secret.
Oh, it's a secret. I can't talk it ill.
Okay.
Oh, don't say anything.
Oh, I forgot that. I must have signed a non-disclosure. I'm sorry.
It's a secret. Okay.
Can I ask for a technical question? If anyone knows how to get a VCR signal on a TV set?
Too much.
Too much? All right. We'll stop there.
I can help them out, or you can too, but not on
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Thanks. I've been working on my solo show, which is coming together, looking like I can do a staged reading here via Zoom in 4 or 5 weeks. A group of us have started a new meetup on Tuesday nights, a friends circle that I think it's gone through the table email list. We had our first talent show last Saturday afternoon via Zoom. We had 4 very talented people, musicians and composers, headlined by a stand-up comic. And it's a little rough to do stand-up comedy via Zoom because you get no real feedback. But he did a good job. And Akira, who comes to these meetings a lot, was one of our guests. We had 3 people from the industry making comments and suggestions and ideas about improving the work. And it went very well. We had about 25 guests, I believe. And for a first-time effort, we think we've got something going that may help. Originally, it was planned to do it face-to-face in a restaurant, but we all know what happened with that idea. So here we are. And keep moving on. I'm getting ready to take another voiceover class here in, next week. And have had a couple of auditions. Have submitted for several by myself. My manager, or my agent, has submitted me for roughly a dozen thus far in the month, and none of those have come through, as far as I know, as of a while ago. But we keep hoping that time, talent, and luck will all converge, and we will. And does everybody know about the comet that's visible around 9:30, 10 o'clock tonight on the northwest skyline? It's pretty interesting to go out. It's visible by the naked eye, and it won't be back for another 6,000 years. So unless Mark or Adam comes up with some solution, I don't think I'll be here for that. Maybe some of you youngins will be here. I'll be here.
They've been talking about this on the news, and they have not mentioned where and what time of night one should look.
Well, it was visible last night on Mount Washington, just because they have pretty open views there for many people. Around 9:30, I think tonight it'll be 2 or 3 minutes later, the way these things go. And
you know if I can go to Griffith Park to see it?
Griffith Park is always a problem because there's usually about 10,000 people there and no parking. So
not now, though, probably. So yeah,
somewhere where you can get a view of the northwest, and you can even get a compass on your phone to help you point which way is north for those who are geographically challenged.
Sure. Cool.
Trust me, I know a couple of people that even with the compass are not sure what direction they're looking. So,
That's fun. That's fun.
Anyway, so that's where I'm at, staying positive, trying to be as productive as I can. And
Great.
Working away.
Okay. Yay. Now also, Michelle, I was meaning to ask you, is that an Oscar behind you, or what is that trophy behind you? Oh, you have to unmute. Whoop. Oh, I can't hear you. Uh-oh. Look out. So, yeah, we can't hear you. You have to unmute the mic. We can't hear you.
Oh,
there you
that
go.
would help.
What were you saying?
That is one of my uncle's 2 Oscars.
Wow.
He had all 5 nominations.
Oh, wow.
His name was Lenny Hayton, Hayton. He was my mother's brother.
Wow.
And this is a shared one for Hello, Dolly. The other one was for Up in the Town, which was not a shared one. I couldn't remember what the other nominations were for.
And what category? What category was it?
Scoring, musical score.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, if you're ever having a yard sale, put that aside for me, please.
Yeah, right. He also was somewhat known for being married to my aunt, Lena Horn.
Wow. Wow.
I know one of the dancers who was in Hello, Dolly.
Well, there you go. Wow.
Okay. I may know the who do you know?
Ron Cisneros.
Know his name. I might very well know his face. There are many dancers who worked on Hello, Dolly.
Yeah. It's but that's great. The only the other time I saw an Oscar in person was when I was at Ray Bradbury's house one time, and I looked over. He was always surrounded by stuff from his career, and I looked over and I saw an Oscar, and I know he'd won an Emmy for the Halloween tree, but I didn't remember him ever winning an Oscar. And I said, "What's the story with the Oscar?" And he said, "Oh, a neighbor gave it to me." And it was like there was a neighbor who had won an Oscar, and he left it for Ray in his will. And so, so I said, "Ray, can I get a photo with that, Ray?" And he said, "Sure." So he took a photo of me holding the Oscar.
One of our members, who is a cinematographer, borrowed the Oscar a number of years ago because he needed to have a photograph of someone holding an Oscar.
Wow.
And
wow.
I can't remember his name. He hasn't been at a meeting in a long time, but he had put out a thing saying, does somebody have a spare Oscar we can borrow?
Wow. That's great.
Most people who come to my house assume that it is not real.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was. And an interesting piece of information, by the way, is that the same sculptor who sculpted the Oscar also sculpted the fountain at the Hollywood Bowl. So if you ever go by that fountain, you'll see that it's a very similar style. It's really interesting. But I love the Oscars. I think they're terrific. And it's interesting because in recent years, of course, if you win an Oscar, you're not allowed to sell them. Whereas the earlier ones can be put up for auction. They usually go for about $100,000. So that's pretty amazing.
Well, it depends.
That sounds like a good movie right there, right?
Yeah.
Does anyone have a spare Oscar? That's a great title for a movie.
Yeah.
A lot of times I had put some other items up for auction through Profiles in History, which a lot of the showbiz stuff.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, I asked the auctioneer or the manager there, "You got any extra Oscars around?" And he said, "Yeah, we got 2 or 3 of them." But the things that are being sold are, as you said, older.
Yes.
And they also tend to be people who are not at the top of the list. You know, if you've got something from John Wayne or Gary Cooper or, you know, Greta Garbo or somebody like that, then it's going to be up in many hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's
but
right.
if it's somebody who did a score or adapted a screenplay or did the sound design, you're not going to get that kind of money.
Right.
I will, of course, never sell this. I have a son to leave it to, and he said, "You're not thinking of?" I said, "Of course not." Please, if the house was on fire, it would be the cats and the Oscar.
Great.
Mascara.
Wow, that's great. That was great. Well, thanks, Michelle. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have a question from Gregory Krug.
Hi, Greg.
Who asks, any opinion of Ultra 7, which was a 60s Japanese sci-fi show?
Yeah, is that the same as Ultraman? I watched Ultraman when I was a kid and enjoyed it. I mean, all the Japanese stuff is kind of an acquired taste, whether it's Godzilla or anime or any of that. Yes, Gojira. And but
I liken Ultraman to basically Japan's version of Superman.
Sort of.
Just it's a property that's been going forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I enjoyed it when I saw it, and they also had some of the Japanese cartoons like 8-Man, things like that, which I enjoyed when I was a kid. But Astro Boy I liked a lot, but I don't tend to watch that stuff now simply because I'm busy, So
Gigantor. If you want a real treat,
Gigantor's
go on
great.
YouTube and punch up the Japanese 1978. I'm thinking Spider-Man series.
Oh yeah! Wow! Yes.
Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have.
No. If you're so inclined, I'm not, but if you're so inclined, do trip out first.
Yes. Yes. So now we come to David Bartlett.
Oh, good, perfect.
There you
I
go.
have a little Oscar kick before we go to me. I heard Steven Spielberg, who's really dedicated to the Motion Picture Academy, more so than most. He actually has someone watching out for Oscars that are being auctioned and sold, and he buys them and he donates them back to the Academy.
Wow.
The Academy actually owns the Oscars. They're loaned to the people that receive them. They're not given to them. So that's something a lot of people don't realize. But obviously, if you have them, you can hang on to it. But you can't sell them, and you can't. And people do it all the time. But he buys them up, and gives them back.
Wow.
So
cool.
Anyway, mine's a little unusual tonight because I am still at the studio.
Oh my God.
But yes, I am David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, human rights activist, and a co-producer of Space Command. I'm also in charge of the crowdfunding, which we just sent 457 items yesterday.
Great.
That were very challenging to do in the mail to people with individual letters. That was a very big day for us.
Great.
And I've been in the studio helping others and myself build sets.
Great.
I started out in theater in school. I made my first film when I was 10 years old, and I did theater and plays in school. I did a lot of set building because I really enjoyed that. But I also did light design and sound and, directing also. All I ever wanted to do since I was 10 was direct films. So, So I started, I moved to LA in 1980 to see William Friedkin do a directing class at the Sherwood Oaks Experimental College that Gary Shusett ran. And I became friends with Gary, and I kept doing classes at the school, and I saw films as fast as I could, and I read books as fast as I could. And I ended up on the set of the biggest film being shot in LA at the time, which was called Under the Rainbow, which is Chevy Chase and Carrie Fisher and 50 at the time called midgets, the little people, in a true story, based on a true story of when they all got together to do the help me out.
Well, it was Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, they were munchkins.
The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
we're all in one hotel at the same time and just partied and drank and went crazy.
Sure,
So the film was based around it.
Yep.
So I was on some of the biggest sets at the time, and the first setup I ever saw on a movie set was the Queen Mary with 200 period extras and Chevy Chase and Carrie Fisher.
Great.
Carrie Fisher was awesome. She came up to me and she said, "Hi, I'm Carrie." She grabbed my hand and shook it like a truck driver.
Wow.
I was like, "Oh my God, you're Carrie Fisher." So
fun.
that was my first film in LA. Then I started doing smaller independent films. I ended up at New World Pictures with Roger Corman, and the production designer there that I was building sets with was Jim Cameron.
Yay.
So it was also, he was engaged to Gaylan Hurd, who later went on to all the Terminator fame with him and also Walking Dead and whatnot.
Yes.
And so I got my feet wet doing movie sets and really enjoyed that. But then I kept going with directing and writing especially, and also producing. And I started working in sound design. And I was doing sound design on films like Pulp Fiction and Total Recall and Speed and Predator 2 and a lot of others. And that was a lot of fun. And I did that for a long time. And then I stopped doing that and went back into independent films. And now I've won 64 film festival awards. So I have a lot more to say in detail about that, but I'm not going to do it because I'm here at the studio to give you a brief tour and to ask you if you're interested. You can come down and help us. I have some paid positions and I have some volunteer positions as well. And we're all excited to get these things done, and we're on the way to doing that. So I'm going to turn this around without disconnecting you. I'm dedicated to getting that to happen. Oh, here we go.
And this is the Space Command Studios. Yeah.
So, there are two studios we have. This is the studio that is going to be filming the sets, but right now I'm building them. Now we have the cave walls from the Forgiveness and the Redemption films that have been repurposed with these tubes, courtesy of Eric Rodriguez's set design. And we put those on there. That part's all done. Then we take a machine See if I can get this to work the first time. I'll have to do that in a second. Hang on. Give me just a second here. This will be fun. It'll be worth it. We take those set walls and we put foam on them, which is basically just professional grade construction foam that looks like this. And
wow,
we put foam on them like this.
Wow.
So you spray it right on there like that.
Wow.
I learned how to make Elaine's favorite pattern. This particular pattern. It starts
It's
like
so
this.
pretty. It's great.
Yeah. Great.
And you put it on very thick. And now it looks like a vein.
Great.
So if you do that long enough, it looks like this. And then after you paint it, stage one of the painting, it looks like this.
Yeah.
The final touch of the painting, done by one of our newest helpers, Maeve, who's a great art director person. It looks like that.
And then you put them all together and you put lights in them and they're an alien spaceship.
Inside these holes go lights that shine down, and also bladders that'll make it look like it's breathing, and maybe even have water in them and whatnot. So
cool.
This studio is set up to do that. This is where they're stored, and there are 12 of them.
Yay. Great.
So these are the last steps of the foaming, which I think I'm going to finish tonight. And I've got a lot of painting to do. Plus, we've got a green screen.
Yay.
And this is only the first studio. So let me get this back again.
Cool. There you go. There.
Now, people that were interested to come down and help, if you want, we are doing COVID-free, well, maybe not COVID-free, but COVID-protected environment. And I've had 2 COVID tests in the last month, so I guarantee that I don't have it. But we have masks and gloves for everyone, and we stay 6 to 8 feet away at least, maybe even more. And we play by all the rules. We have a wonderful fan.
Great.
That is like an airplane. That looks like this.
Wow. Look at that.
And that keeps everything cool and ventilated.
Would you, David, would you say that's your biggest fan?
Definitely the biggest fan. Yes,
yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Well, you certainly made that limited space very efficient.
Yes, it has.
Thank you.
And we've got 2 of those.
We got 2 of those, and I just realized that I had the door open to the other one, so I could show you that one really quickly too.
Sure.
So this one is, let me get the lights on.
Yes.
This one is for set construction and set storage.
Yes.
We have all sorts of wonderful tools. We also have a very cool entry
with a spacesuit
that has a spacesuit in it.
Yeah.
From Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
This is the chairs that Mark and I, we have been rescuing things from the sidewalk for many months.
Yes.
Some of them have found themselves into our studio.
Yes.
Here's a wonderful office filled with furniture that was donated by the Prop House. And it's really amazing matching furniture, exactly what we need. We've got cool pictures up, autographed posters. We've got pictures from our show, Cloverfield Paradox. There's some perks. There's the futuristic car that's being built. Here's covers of the comic book. Here's 2 little guys you might recognize. Captain Jack Kemmer and Mark himself.
Yay.
Got you.
That's great.
And we also have, of course, a piece of the original Star Trek The Motion Picture, V'ger.
Yeah. Cool.
And there's other things too. There's the creature that's being built for Space Command by Eric right now. This is designed and built. I've got the pieces back here. And this is what the rest of the studio looks like. This is the storage. For those of you, Michelle Hart will especially love this part. She helped me move these things about 4 times now.
Wow.
This is all the stuff from the Space Command sets of
Holy cow.
2 years ago, stored and ready to be used again. And this is the other studio.
Wow.
Cloverfield Paradox sets.
Crazy.
We have here one of the 2 toolboxes. There's the other one. Love that. We have these consoles being restored for the set that's going to be shot in a few weeks. A couple shots there. And this is the big central console of the Space Command Paladin set.
Great.
And chairs galore and wonderful tool area. So that's what we're up to.
Great.
So if you're interested, you can email me at davefilms, DAVEFILMS at hotmail.com or call me at 323-286-6660. I'm sure Adam or someone can be helpful enough to put that in the queue there and come out and pitch in if you're interested.
That's great. Well, thanks, David.
So,
Yay. 3 cheers.
yeah.
No, that's cool. That's very cool.
Unless you have other questions or anything you want me to say, I think I'm going to sign off and keep foaming up these walls.
Yeah,
I'm luckier and better off. There's Cookie here. Adam is putting out my email.
Great.
Great.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot, David. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yay.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thane. Thank you, Thane.
Take care. Take care. Yeah, bye. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. And
Cool. Awesome.
also I put Dave's email on
Great.
Mr. Sci-Fi in
Great.
the comments there.
Thanks.
Because we did have a few people commenting that they might want to volunteer.
Yes.
So that's great.
Cool.
Our next question is from another one's from Scott Baker, who asks, which characters or story elements in Space Command are partly autobiographical, if any?
Well, that's interesting. The relationship between Jack and his father is somewhat based on my relationship with my own father. There's bits and pieces throughout. You know, it's our dogs are in it. You know, it's everything you write in a way is autobiography, and so there's bits and pieces of me. There's bits and pieces of Elaine. You know, it's just, I mean, literally, I could do an audio commentary on all of the episodes and say, okay, this is based on this is based on that. You know, it's everything you see, everything you hear, everything you read, everything you do, and it all comes out in the fictional world that you create. So it's, but there's a lot of bits and pieces definitely in Space Command, very much so. So cool. So now we get to Gino. Gino, you're up, Gino. Go for it.
Hey, Gino, I was expecting to hear from you with a phone call. I never heard back.
You know what?
What?
Me too. And yeah, and I thought about today, trying to catch you before the meeting. Maybe we could, if you have time, maybe we could talk after. That'd be great.
We'll see.
Okay, good. So, who we have here? Because everybody knows me except for Matt. I don't think I've ever seen you. Hi, Gino's actor, filmmaker, comedian. Okay. Well, just for I'm available for table reads, and also if I fit specifications for a project that you may be casting, I love to read for you. The as I mentioned last week, there's Sheila Thompson, table member, casting director. I've been working on a Zoom project with her, and for a directing class that she's been taking, and Cammie Middleton was in it as well. Another guy that I just met, but her professor loved what we did. Wow. I mean, loved. And so we're going to go back and we're going to do another one from another particular scene from the piece is called Squirrels. I can't remember who wrote it or whatnot. Fun. Mark, you probably know. You know everything. So there's that. And wow. I'd like to get a hold of some other Zoom projects that have been done pretty much naturally since the pandemic hit. So I can still, round everything together with what I want to do for mine. As I bring that to mind, Raven, who is helping me out, is my line producer. When after she read it for the first time, it's 8.5 pages, that she felt something was missing for her. She just wasn't able to connect it. And I had another friend of mine read it this past weekend, and he told me, that the basis of it was there. Well, actually, even before that, it's like being that it's, my life, my film, I know it better than anybody, but I wasn't communicating it as powerfully as I could. So the average Joe or whoever would be able to track it and follow it. And when he told me pretty much the same thing, and then I called Raven as well. Again, she said, "Okay, yeah," because it's not connecting, and that maybe to look to go and not maybe, but look to write it in the third person.
Okay.
Yeah. So I before coming on the call, I'm thinking, okay, what might I have to talk about tonight? And I figured you'd have some valuable input, as you usually do with that particular type of deal. Because one thing that they didn't want me to spend all the money and then not have.
I had a similar situation. It was when I was in the protest movement. I went through kind of a traumatic thing in the Poor People's March. And then I wanted to write about it because the people were all really fascinating. And the motives and the situation was like very high stakes. People were getting shot, and I was trying to write it, and I was one of the characters in it, one step away, and I couldn't capture that because it was me, too much me, and I kept getting lost in detail. And I couldn't seem to eliminate enough where it could just be about that moment in time. And so it became, rather than more powerful, it became diffuse. So, as it happened, my campus minister had very similar ideals and passions. And I rolled us together, my campus minister and myself, and the character became not a woman, but a man, and with a little bit of fiction and putting me into him and him into me, and it became a different person, but with the same kind of core drive and motivation, slightly different history, but just a different history, but with the same emotional core. Then I was able to write it. So sometimes when we write ourselves too closely, when it's just us, we become tangled in the complexity of our own experience. But if you know anyone else who had a dream and had to shift the dream in a core way, because you had a dream and you found that it was, you couldn't own it, but you could share it. And if you know someone else who had a dream and couldn't own it, but eventually shared it and can roll you together with them, you might be able to make it work, strip it down to that core emotion, which is, if you can't make it work for you, does that mean you give up, or does that mean that you find a different way to express that dream and that passion? And so that might get rid of I don't know, it felt like I had like all the furniture in my attic trying to decorate my living room. It was just a mess. But then when I stripped it down to just that and put it on another person a bit and rolled us together, I was able to just put in those few elegant bits in the living room that made it comfortable.
Yeah.
Does that follow, or is it confusing?
It's confusing.
I guess probably maybe a little bit of both. I just wanted to make sure that the putting the core drive and emotion and determination into somebody else, shifts the focus.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Well, Gino, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just have a question. Because when they're saying take it out of the first person and put it in the third person, is this a film script, or what exactly is it that you're talking about?
Oh, got it. Okay, this is for my short.
So it's a short film. Well, I don't know how you take it from a first person to a third person. I don't know what that means.
Well, what Raven said was, okay, choose, an actor that I would want or like or admire.
Right.
And write it. Naturally, even though it's mine, I'm going to be playing it.
Right.
But write it as though I'm writing it for them.
I don't know. I mean, she felt that you were too close to the material. Is that the problem?
Yeah.
And that you didn't have perspective, so you weren't communicating what you were setting out to communicate, right?
Say that again.
You were too close to it, so you weren't communicating what you wanted to communicate with the piece. Is that correct?
Almost. Naturally, I know how it goes, but naturally better than anybody.
Sure.
But they were saying that with regards to somebody else being able to read it and then follow.
Well, it doesn't matter if they're reading it, if they're able to follow reading it, if you're going to shoot it. I mean, the question is, does it convey what you want it to convey once it's shot? I mean, again, these are. I mean, I think you have to be very careful of not going down the wrong tributaries. I mean, I don't often know if something works until I shoot it, frankly.
The one thing you want to be cautious of, if it's your own experience and they're saying put it into somebody else's mouth, there's a possibility that it's too internal. And sometimes we underestimate how unique our own experience is. And we think that people understand what's going on with a word or two, when not having lived our lives, they don't understand.
So
could that be the problem?
I think you guys should probably just have a conversation as a side conversation, because this could go down the rabbit hole. It's an 8-minute short that you want to shoot, right?
Yes.
Why don't you just shoot it? I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, people aren't getting it.
Well, they're not getting it because it doesn't exist. It's a script. I mean, if you shoot it, you'll see what works and what doesn't. I mean, I don't know. It's you would have a rehearsal, you'd have a table read, you'd see what's working and what's not working, you'd rewrite it, and then you'd shoot it. I mean, it's sort of like the decision to make something forces you to pull it together. It's like one can endlessly agonize. And I think, one thing that was great about doing this recent episode of Space Command, the 2-part episode, was that I totally let go of whether it would work or not, and I just went for it. And I'm very pleased we made it. And some fans go, "What is this thing? It doesn't finish the story in the first episode." Well, no, and if you'd listened to the introduction, you would know that. It's like, it's not my responsibility to be perfect. It's my responsibility to create things that are of interest to me. And when I let myself off the hook, it allows me to not be stuck in place. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this could be a side conversation with you and Elaine, but again, I think if I were you, I would just get the thing up on its legs, shoot it, and if it doesn't work, then shoot it again. It's an 8-minute short. It's not Gone with the Wind.
I think a table read would tell you too.
Yeah. A table read, sure.
If you had a table read, and let's say there was a particular subtextual thing at play that was very clear to you, and you had a lot of questions after the table read as to, when he said this, what did he mean?
Right.
Then you would say, okay, that was too much internalized experience.
Yes.
So I would have to actually have him say this thing, because nobody followed it because they don't share your experience.
But if it's but I would but if it's an 8-minute short, a table read's going to be pretty quick, and you could do that on Zoom or whatever and rock and roll. I mean, literally, you could have the table read within a week. You could do whatever rewrites you want to have within another week, and given whatever the challenges of the pandemic are, you could shoot it very soon thereafter. I think I would get on with it. I would make the damn thing.
The main thing are specific questions. Like, I really got that, but when you said this, I didn't know where that was coming from, and that's where you would say, well, that was because when such and such happened when I was a kid. That's what I'm talking about. So, well, you need to put that in there.
Sure, yeah. But until you actually get the momentum of actually something that you're going to be shooting, of the stuff.
It doesn't have to be shot. It can just be read.
Yeah. Well, as a preliminary step. But I'm just saying that you'll discover in the doing of it what a lot of these things will become crystal clear in the doing of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So anything else, Gino?
Well, I've got an Oscar that I've been holding out on you. So I'll bring it by you before we can.
Made of chocolate and it has foil on it. Yeah, exactly. Yes, but yeah, it's awards are nice. It's nice to win awards. I got to tell you, and I'll bring the awards over that are over there and bring them in front of the camera. But anything else beyond that, Gino?
Well. Just right now, no. But Elaine, can I call you after the meeting and we continue on with that other stuff?
Oh yeah, if it's
sure. Call you tomorrow.
Sure.
Or tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, you bet. Okay, thanks, Gino. Yay.
Thank you.
So, Adam, another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, and I do want to say that a lot of our Mr. Sci-Fi viewers were loving that conversation between Gino and love what Elaine had to say.
They're a lovely couple.
So as for our next question,
Yes.
it's from Robbie Riley Esquire,
Robbie.
who says, "Cheers from Tokyo."
Thank you.
And who really directed Thing from Another World? Was it Chris Nyby or was it Hawks himself?
It was Chris Nyby, but Howard Hawks produced the movie, and he was on the set a lot, and he would make suggestions, and Chris Nyby would take the suggestions and Chris Nyby was quoted about this. He said, if Howard Hawks is going to make a suggestion, that's not something you're going to say no to, because he's one of the great directors of all time. Chris Nyby was Howard Hawks' assistant, and The Thing from Another World is a really fun horror film based on Who Goes There, by a novella by John W. Campbell, who was the editor of Astounding Magazine, and it's a great piece of work. Of course, the great version of that story is The Thing that John Carpenter made with Kurt Russell. It's one of my favorite movies. It's just swell. But both versions have their strengths and weaknesses, and they're both worth watching. So yeah, absolutely. So now we get to Earl Smith. Go for it, Earl.
Hey, Earl. Earl?
He's doing it. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yay.
You're up.
I'm more out. So that's too loud.
There. Okay.
I don't need anything. I just wanted to join in.
Sure.
Earl F. Smith, multi-award winning composer, sound designer. I just got Mark's short film. I'll download it, start checking it out this evening, start writing music.
That's
Signed
Mark
on
Gushwitz.
4 more music students this last week.
Cool.
I got it, another short film as well, 11 minutes. It'll probably be maybe a month and a half before actually the locked picture.
Great.
But that's about it. Happy to be here, and yeah.
Good. Well, good to see you. Say hi to Faith for us.
Yeah.
Yay.
Mark said hi.
Yeah.
He said hi.
Great. So, and Earl's daughter is in Ripple Effect, the 2-hour Space Command episode. So that was fun.
Let me add this. So last week, after I told her, everyone said hi and stuff, and Mark and Elaine and about the film, she said, "Okay, well, great. So when's the next one? I'm ready."
That's fun.
Well,
That's fun.
She won a sport. I mean, she
had a birthday last Sunday, so she
great.
just turned 12.
That's great.
wow.
Congratulations.
She
those
was
years.
She was exhausted and working like a dog. Good for her.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks, Earl. Thanks a lot.
Right.
So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
There's a few. Oh, good. We have Akira. So I won't skip then.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go to our next question, which is from, our next question is from Ziggy.
Hi, Ziggy.
Who says, any idea on the release date for the next Space Command episode, which I would be, would be the second part of Redemption.
Yes, Redemption Part 2. I'd like it to be done in about 3 months. We're getting near. We're getting close. We've got a lot of visual effects shots done. We've got a lot of the connective tissue done, and now it's just assigning sequences to our different VFX artists, making sure they're of the quality we need, then just getting sound effects and music and all that stuff. But yeah, definitely before Christmas and hopefully before that. So, but that's our plan. So, and Dave is thrilled by this, I can tell. Yeah, he's my little wind-up doll. So, as he loves to be called.
We have different concepts of the passage of time.
We do. For you, we're a minute working with me is an eternity. So, when will this end?
No, working with you is very pleasant and very unique, and
Yes.
I generally enjoy it.
Yes.
But we have different concepts of how long things take.
Yes.
We'll try to do it in 3 months.
Yes.
This way we have a target, and
Yes.
it gives us something to miss.
Very funny. Very, very funny. Well, we shall see. But okay, so Akira, you're up. Go for it.
Right, I'm very late today.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, this is Akira. So how are you? So
Good.
Somebody maybe first time. Okay, so this is Akira. I'm a film composer and guitarist and a Japanese language instructor, and I'm doing guitar lesson and Japanese lesson online, and also I'm working on some film project. I'm composing for, and last Saturday I showed up on a talent show program produced by Tene, right? And they invited me to show up on the program, and I introduced myself in that program, and I introduced my works, and I talked to somebody, some panelists from the industry. That was a great program. I really appreciate you have it. Thank you very much. Anyway. So yes, what I'm doing is just staying at home and composing and teaching online and reading books.
Great.
That's all. Nothing special. But just little by little, I'm just not to be discouraged. Just gets up, and showing up and push myself to be in front.
Great.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Akira. Yay. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. But it looks like we're running out of people, so I'm just going to read our latest one.
Sure.
And we'll cut off questions from there.
Okay, sure.
Our latest question is from Surviving Sam, who asks, what was your personal favorite episode or show of your entire career?
That's interesting. I have definitely high points. I'm very proud, but I love doing Space Command. I love what I'm working on now. That's always my favorite thing because it's so fun and engrossing and interesting. So I wouldn't trade any of the past for the now. I love the fact that I'm active now and making work now and have my own studio and all that stuff. I'm certainly proud of Far Beyond the Stars on DS9. I'm certainly very proud of the George Takei Star Trek episode I did, that Elaine and I did. And, the 2 episodes of Sliders I'm credited with. I wrote a lot more of them because I was doing page 1 rewrites on freelancers and so forth. But there's an episode of Friday the 13th series that I wrote called Pipe Dream that's about my dad and myself that I really am very fond of. There's a couple of episodes of Beyond Reality that I wrote, Asylum and Nightfall, well, yeah, I mentioned that, the George Takei episode, yes. And of course, The Twilight Zone Companion. I'm very, very proud of that I wrote a book in my early 20s that is still in print after over 30 years. That's pretty amazing. And that so many people love it. That's really great. So it's, I'm happy with all of it, basically. But great. But thank you for the question. So now it's Elaine. Wonderful, Elaine. Yay. Go for it, Elaine. Yay. Tell them about all your triumphs. You're doing great.
Keeping busy, as I said before. Michelle, I may exploit your knowledge of who lives where, Mark Ruffalo, and
you guys can talk.
Yeah, we can talk afterwards. Yes, I was able to finish a rewrite of a piece called Comfort,
a screenplay,
which is a screenplay about a small town of comfort where people are stuck in various situations because they don't know how to give or receive or ask for comfort. Mm-hmm. And it's how, in very different ways, they come upon that opening door where they can get comfort and move on in their lives. Mm-hmm. So I did that. So that's a character piece that I'll probably want to do a reading on soon.
Great.
And the rest was Space Command to help Mark with a little polish on Sweet Haven.
We'll get to that, yeah.
We'll get to that, and which is just a little final polish. Mm-hmm. And so just keeping.
Well, no, that's not. Busy. But there's more, Elaine. I mean, we had a great conversation with the CEO of Cachette, who is the father of one of our Space Command actors, little 9-year-old Alfie, and he's asked. He wants to look at a number of our projects. So amongst the projects were a mini series of Elaine's and 2 or 3 of her features that he's now considering actively. So that's great. And so that went very, very well. We had a Zoom meeting with him, and he's a really nice guy. And Subversive, which is the miniseries project is doing with Lord Peter Hayne, who's a member of Parliament in England that we're producers on, is again moving forward, and we're trying to make that happen. But I just did a video of that that our producers in the UK could utilize to help get us meetings and sell the show.
And Subversive is not Subversive is where it became subversive in South Africa to treat people as people.
Yeah,
you could not treat anyone of color as an equal.
Yeah,
that was illegal.
You know, well, yeah.
And so tilting that into what's going on now, Black Lives Matter.
Mhm.
It was it's a real story.
Well, it's about a
memoir.
family that opposed apartheid, and ultimately their teenage son rose to a point of leading the sports boycott in the UK that turned the attention of the world on apartheid.
His parents were in jail for a while, and then
Yeah.
they fled. Then they were
Shit happened.
They threw it into the country, and then they continued to protest in England, apartheid, and it's quite a real dramatic story.
And now he's a member of parliament, so
Yes.
it worked out great. So okay, cool. Anything else you need?
That's
Anything
it for
you
now.
need?
No.
Yay! So great. So then finally, wonderful me. So things are going really, really well. I'm a little tired. It's been a long day, and but as I said, Cachette is considering Magic Time and Space Command, as is Amazon at the moment. So it's Cachette and Amazon are considering those two shows. And I'm doing the Showrunners Network, where I'm creating 6 shows with 6 major showrunners. So I'm creating a show called Sweet Haven with Rockney O'Bannon, the creator of Farscape, Defiance, Sequest, Alien Nation, currently executive producer on Evil on CBS. And in Sweet Haven, a disease gets out of hand and everyone under 60 in the world dies. So the people 60 and above have to figure out how to save humanity. So I wrote the pilot. Rock and I outlined it, and I wrote it, and then Elaine took the run at it. So now she's co-credited with me on it. This is the pilot script. We're going to do a table read of it via Zoom in a week or two, and the cast is astonishing. I mean, so far the actors we have confirmed for it are Mike Harney of Orange is the New Black and Project Blue Book, Mira Furlan of Babylon 5 and Lost, Bob Picardo of Star Trek Voyager, Barbara Bain of Space 1999 and Mission Impossible. Beyond that, the actors I've written roles for in this include George Takei, who of course I've worked with before, Eva Marie Saint, Glenn Turman, Ethan Phillips, Tim Russ, Gates McFadden, Jonathan Frakes, so forth. So it's an amazing cast. And
Sweet Haven came up. I mean, it came up way before COVID was even a gleam in Trump's eye.
Yeah, no, Rock and I came up with this before, way before the pandemic. So this is the draft. It's done and ready to rock and roll. So that's fun. And as I say, we have a venture capital person who's talking with investors, Broadway investors, who want to put up $20 to $30 million. So we're just trying to reel that in. And meantime, with Space Command, we've finished the audio play. We finished the first hour. We finished Ripple Effect, the 2-hour episode. We've got 2 more episodes in post. So we shot a bunch of episodes of this thing, and we're ramping up to shoot part 2 of Forgiveness. I'm writing the Greenlighting Yourself book. And then we have a Kickstarter campaign going. Please spread the word about the Kickstarter campaign. Our target is 48 grand. We're up to 21 and change right now. We've got about 27 days to go. So we can make it, but we have to, keep our eye on the ball. And there's amazing perks, including a couple of books I wrote that are only available through this campaign. I wrote a book when I was in college that's never been published. It was, I interviewed Ron Cobb, who was one of the great designers of Star Wars, Back to the Future, Alien, great political cartoonist, amazing guy. And then I also interviewed George Clayton Johnson, who wrote for Twilight Zone and Star Trek and co-wrote Logan's Run. And and then the third person was Theodore Sturgeon, who was an amazing Star Trek writer and science fiction writer. This is actually his first novel. This is one of the perks that we're giving away on the Kickstarter campaign. It's his first novel, and it's signed by him. Look at that. And he was one of my mentors and dear friends. In fact, that photo behind Elaine's head is the photo I took of him when I was 19 that's appeared on 2 of his books as his author's photo. So really cool stuff. And then the other book is The Art of Mark Zickery, because many of you don't know that I was an artist before I was a writer. When I was a teenager, I had gallery shows and so forth. I was an art major at UCLA and got my degree in that. And it will be a book collecting my artwork from when I was 5 till when I was about 22, paintings, sculptures, sketches, you name it. So it'll be pretty fun, photographs. And so that's another perk in the campaign. So that's about it for us, just doing what we love and busy and having fun and, you know. And it's funny, I've been watching one of my favorite movies, and Dave, we're going to actually present this movie on Mr. Sci-Fi. It's called Things to Come. It was written by H.G. Wells in 1936. It's a terrific movie. You can watch it in its entirety on YouTube. But I just got some copies of the original lobby cards, and this is one of them, which is, you can see it's this futuristic couple. And the interesting thing about this lobby card is it shows a scene that's not in the movie. They cut that scene out of the movie, and so that's pretty fun.
The film is public domain?
Yes. And the other part of it is I'm also getting a photo of an actor named Ernest Thesiger, who was in the movie, and they didn't tell him that they had cut him out because H.G. Wells thought he came across as too gay. And so they cast Cedric Hardwicke in that role, but didn't tell Ernest Thesiger. And so he went to the premiere with all of his friends to watch the movie. And only when he watched the movie did he realize he was no longer in the movie. But I actually found on eBay a photo of him in the role. And so I've ordered that because it's a real rarity. I've never seen a photo of him from that movie. So he played Dr. Pretorius in Bride of Frankenstein. He was an amazing actor. And yeah, he would have been great in Things to Come. I'd love to see that footage. But yeah, we're going to put it on Mr. Sci-Fi, Dave. So
and that's what H.G. Wells had to say with his voice.
Yes, I know. Yeah, this little high voice, this little strange pipsqueak voice. Very surprising. I know. And Wells, of course, was one of the great science fiction writers. But so meantime, you know, we're just continuing forward on all the stuff we're doing. It's pretty amazing. And you know, and the main pressure right now is, you know, making the campaign work and having it succeed, because the person who was supposed to run it flaked, and I had to jump in and you know, play catch up, which I'm doing, but it takes attention and effort. So that's about it for now, but things are going really, really well. So anyone else need anything at this point? I think we're good for now. We're here every Thursday. So thanks, guys. It's been terrific. Thank you, Mr. Sci-Fi fans, and we'll see you all next time.
Stay safe, everybody, including Mr. Sci-Fi people.
Thank you. Thanks. Yay. Bye, guys. See you soon.